So many things to talk about. We'll call our meeting to order. It is after 5:30. We're going to call our meeting to order, please. And you're very happy that you're all here. We'll have the flag salute, please. Would you like to lead the flag salute?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We're going to start out with the board roundtable. And if you can't hear us, just feel free to come up closer. Following the roundtable, we will have public comments. So if you have ideas, things you've thought of while we're talking, that's great. Just come in at public comment. And I'll let Vicky start, but I'll say something, then you guys just hop right into it. But I was hoping we'd look at get an idea of what our priorities are and what the first steps are and how you might implement those first steps.
Right. So the priority is obviously finding somebody to lead the school as soon as possible. So that it's not that you're not waiting until the last minute. And there is a lot of demand for principals and superintendents in the state right now. In the ESD area, over half of the superintendents positions are open or are in process of being filled. So
That's quite a few.
it is. It's a lot. My recommendation would be to look at a principal, because I think a principal is the most important thing for the building at this point for both schools. And to look at what are the priorities for the person that you're looking for. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can have a principal be a superintendent, which is what I did when I was at Mount Pleasant. You can have a full-time principal and have another person come in a couple of days a week, 1 day a week, whatever the bulk of the needs are. And there's been other times when office managers have taken on the role of the superintendent as well. So it's really your choice what you do and how you put the position together, but I would really encourage you to advertise as soon as possible for a principal and to really look at what qualities you want that person to have and what are your priorities. Anyways, I gave you some samples of job descriptions for superintendents and for principals at the elementary level, as well as the middle school, high school level. And once I hear what everybody is looking for, I'll help to put together a job description that can be posted to your website. So people have something when they apply for the position that they're looking at, so they know what your expectations are, and a little bit about the district itself and the population. Anyway.
Unfortunately, we just got this.
I know, and I do have a district email account now, so the reason I'm giving them to you now is so you can look at them and you can also email me feedback of the things that are here, but you've had somebody in the job, so you know what things you value and what's most important to you, and so that's what I like to hear, is not necessarily what's here, but what's pertinent to this particular school. These are just kind of templates.
Yeah.
Well, I think that one of the important things is we have I would say a significantly different management and leadership needs between our elementary school and our college and the high school. And so that, that ability to go from one to the other and understand the key elements of each, and I think is important. I probably don't describe it very well, but
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So the reason why they're having so many, job openings for superintendents is it just, a lot of people retiring or something?
It's retirement and people in smaller school districts, and the ESD has a lot of smaller size school districts, and so people in smaller school districts often want to then move up to the next step, so,
Right.
you know.
So right now,
Progression.
it sounds to me, I'm sure if I heard it right, but it sounds to me like you're really thinking that we need to, like right now, get a principal.
I really think you need a principal because you need somebody to start the school year.
Because everything, from my understanding is everything that superintendent actually does, outside of what a principal does, actually can be contracted out.
A lot of it kind of, yeah,
So,
What things can't be done? What things can't be contracted out?
from the superintendent.
Yeah.
Supervision of the principal. And the principal does need somebody besides the board to be accountable to. Because it's hard to know whether things are going as well as you want them to be going.
right, so Kathy in Mount Pleasant,
Mhm,
she was saying she's under contract of just 2 days a week.
right,
So really, we could have, a full-time principal and then a superintendent that is under contract up by 2 days a week, if you can find somebody that is willing to do that.
right. And I visited with Miltech Skamania School as well and kind of brainstormed superintendents that had retired, but may want to pick up a day a week or 2 days a
Yeah.
week. Cause I'm not even sure that you would need 2 days a week here. You could, if you had a full-time
Yeah.
principal, you might be able to do.
Yeah, because Kathy was actually doing the principal and superintendent.
Yeah, and which is what I did too.
Yeah.
But, and I worked really closely with the board, but if there was. Where the conflict I think can happen is if there's a, issue that the principal isn't necessarily doing their job, then. You know, how do you know that?
Yeah.
So how would that have been different, or how did you like working as the superintendent principal versus if you had somebody else who was a part-time superintendent working with you? Any
Well,
difference?
you know, I was at Whitson for 13 years before
Sure,
I, was at Mount Pleasant. And really, except for my relationship with the board, there wasn't that much difference in my positions, because we did all the I grants, at the building level. And so sometimes there are district grants, but we also, if that was our curricular area, then we did those too, so. It wasn't that much different.
so help me understand, when you, I grants at the building level, you're going.
I grants are how you get money from the state for different programs, so your high cap program, your title programs, you have to apply every year to the state. And then they give you your allotment of money for those particular programs. And so we did those at the building level. Of like a facility modernization grant would be an I grant.
Okay,
And so you're applying on,
so
the
your
website.
your principal was dealing with the I grants for like the facility modernization grants and all of those types of
Yeah.
things.
I did at Mount Pleasant, I did the building modernization grant. At Whitson, I did all the building level, like curriculum, reading, when there are grants for reading programs or anything like that. I did those.
So
Yeah,
this
and
is
then I
something,
did the same thing at Mount
so
Pleasant.
this is something that the principal does.
Mhm.
So would the principal then be at every board meeting to report to us? What's going
Well, I
on?
was, because I was superintendent.
Right, but
principal.
I'm,
But that's typically not a principal responsibility.
so
That
how does the board get?
You might do an extra stipend if you wanted the board, the principal to meet with. You know, we were, as building principals, we were required to be at each board meeting, but towards the end of the time that I was at White Salmon, but we weren't, in the beginning, we weren't required to be at all of them.
Just worried about how we're gonna get
Right,
all the information that,
yeah.
you know. the
And you can
principal
make
would
that
do.
part of the job responsibility. That's kind of
Or you'd make the superintendent's, one of the superintendent work days be the meeting day.
Or, yeah, if you didn't have a superintendent, you could just make it part of the building principals responsibilities to do that. Just another.
So how does that, like, districts that don't have a, that don't have a superintendent, there's certain responsibilities dictated to the superintendent by statute, like secretary of the board and those types of things. How does that work in those districts?
Some districts use the office manager as that person. And for a lot of years, Skamania School only had an office manager and not a principal or a superintendent. And so that office manager did the board meetings, did all of the paperwork.
So was the superintendent as defined in statute, or those things fell to that person?
Those things fell to that person. Yep.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. It's just a matter of how you want to do it, and a lot of it is financial as well. You know, what your budget is, and you know, where you want to allot that money.
Well, also, it sounds like what you're saying right now, it'd be easier to get a principal right now than a principal / superintendent.
Probably.
I would
Yeah.
certainly think so, yeah.
So if nothing else, if we concentrate on getting a principal right now,
Mhm.
then we can figure out all the responsibilities of a superintendent from not later on, but.
Yeah, and I can give you the names of people that we kind of Milt and I brainstormed that might be interested in that, but I think that the first thing to concentrate on is the principal.
Yeah,
And because most contracts start July 1st, and
Right.
we're already there.
But, so does the principals start in September, or does it start?
No,
They
I
start,
mean, the contract for administrative staff is July 1st through,
so.
and you work a certain number of days. It's 214, 220 days depending on the district, and so in order to get those days, and you do start in the summer, and there's a lot to get going before.
We've just
school
always
starts.
had just the superintendent, so.
Yeah,
So trying to hire on a really short timeline, we need to get these things happening,
mhm.
but I also feel like, I don't wanna, we're not just hiring for the next 6, 10, 12 months necessarily.
You can hire an interim.
Right.
And
Well,
then you
that's-
could keep
that-
that person.
If they,
If
right,
it worked out, but if you haven't started an end date for somebody, like if you decided to go with 1 year, then that's,
but that,
somebody doesn't go into the job with the expectation of being there for 5 to 6 years or whatever.
but talking to Milt, he was suggesting not to go with a 1 year contract. He said more than likely, we won't get anybody to take a 1 year contract. He said a 2 year contract. So, for somebody to move up here or generally in the area, he said, nobody will do that for a 1 year contract.
They have to relocate, right?
Yeah, he was.
if there was a
suggesting
if there was a
2 year
relocation.
He has a lot of experience
Yeah.
doing searches for superintendents. And, yeah, it is. And when I started at Whitson, I was on a 1 year interim contract because the superintendent that I replaced was on a 1 year interim contract. And so if it didn't work out for him, then it wasn't gonna work out for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's, just kind of the way that would work, but I trusted that everything was gonna be fine and resigned from my job at the ESD to take the Whitson position and, cause I knew Dale and I figured he'd do a great job, so
Yeah.
I wasn't too worried about it, but, it's a risky take.
We also have a housing situation for anybody too, because there are.
The whole
places-
county does.
There's a couple of houses for sale, actually.
Well, the one, Brad Patty's just sold for $750.
Oh, no
Wow.
kidding.
The one across from you?
Yeah, 1,500 square feet.
Yeah.
Well,
We're looking to sell our houses and live in it.
I think I already have a water home. Right, come on, Ernie, let's go.
and I think a lot of it's the land, not the house.
And they're on
It's
two,
just-
2 acres and it's,
You
yeah,
know,
and a stream, but still, it's like,
Yeah.
things are
That's-
selling.
that's.
Well, yeah, we're pretty
Yeah.
much 2 acre minimum, so you can have a septic.
Okay, so,
And there may be people in the area that are, that have their administrative credential and there just haven't been openings and they don't want to move. And so they're in positions that they may not want to be in. So I think there's, you know, it's not like there aren't people here.
yeah. Well, Glenwood just had 4 different people that applied. So there's 3 people right now that are not far from this area that are put in for Glenwood.
So how, when we have a district like we do, where it's a small school, that has a lot going for it, in my opinion, but also has its own unique challenges. How often do you, at least at the administrative level, tailor, you know, one approach is you set the role and then you find somebody who meets that role. But if you need flexibility, or if you have more flexibility, you can also tailor the role to the strengths of the person if you find the right person. Meaning, if we have somebody who applies, who is able to take on superintendent capabilities, and we look at like, does the job description make sense for that person? But not necessarily limiting our search to someone who can do
Right,
all of it.
right.
I think that, you know,
Well, I would guess the job description would be a living document, you know, as far as, you know, from the very beginning.
Yeah, a job description is just something to give people an idea of what their expectations are.
right,
I mean, you do have,
you get to
there
put
are
one up there.
minimum
Sure,
expectations.
sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, jobs change over the course of.
Right.
time. I mean, and.
Our previous superintendent started as a super and a part-time administrator under a different superintendent, and
Yeah,
then that role evolved for that person. And I think, having some flexibility as we look to fill our administration would also make it easier to find good qualified people to be in administration.
Well, would it be better for us to go with an interim? For 1 year? And
Well-
that would open it up for, you know, then we have a better time frame as far as trying to, you know.
everybody's on a year-to-year contract, I mean, especially in administration, and so if you would know in the early stages of somebody starting here, whether it's a good fit or it's not a good fit, and so, you know, you can make a decision not to renew somebody's contract, particularly in the first year.
Yeah.
So it's not like if you don't do it as an interim, but they don't work out, then. you know,
What I'm thinking of is more of the availability. So,
Yeah.
so if you're trying to crunch in and right now try to find somebody that fills both roles, then, you know, you're kind of hamstringed with time. with
Yeah,
the
I
time
think-
frame.
I think you're gonna have a hard time finding somebody who can fill in on both roles.
Yeah, right.
I think you'll have an easier time finding a principal.
Okay.
You could
And then we-
advertise it interim or permanent, you know, or,
Yeah,
but
well,
we wouldn't want to use the
permanent.
word permanent.
No,
Well, I kind of like the idea of just going with the principal and then, somebody that's retired that comes in 1 or 2 days a week or something. And
Yeah.
let them fill in the,
or somebody who's already
Yeah.
doing 1 or 2 days a
Yeah.
week someplace else that wants more time. So that lives in the area, already, so that you're not bringing some, I mean, you're never gonna get somebody to move here for 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. It seems like the more we shoehorn it, the smaller we make our candidate pool. And if we wanna,
That's a
If-
good point, too.
if we wanna find somebody who can, and honestly, I personally, I would be open to somebody who was like, hey, I'll get you through this year. Or I'd be more open to someone who's like, I really wanna be here
And
and grow with you. But either one, I'd rather have the right person get us through a year than the wrong person
just have a warm body.
just to have a warm body.
Yeah. And being how we're so late. Trying to find somebody really late.
Well, you could also start with a principal and then halfway through the year, see if that person is interested in becoming also the superintendent.
Absolutely, and it could be, you could hire somebody as a principal who wants to eventually do superintendent type roles and
Right.
and grow into that type of role, grow with the school. We've seen that happen previously, and that's not,
It could be a very good, even, even hiring somebody and you can say, we're gonna complete and do this job description, in your first 3 months after you've had some time here, and what you see, and
well, and if we did that, Keith, we have somebody who had goals in the long term. Serve both roles, then that would be important and that would be beneficial to have that more mature mentor who has seen this and done this. To be there for a while with them.
Right.
Yeah, because if you get a retired person to come in a day
Sure.
or two. They might decide after a year that, okay, I did that. Now I'm really done.
At Skamania School, they said he'd do 1 year with it because they did a job search for a superintendent and didn't find the right person.
So he stayed on.
He's stepped in for a year and then it was a good fit for him. And so now he's
So
on
he's
his
just
3rd
stayed.
year.
Okay,
So
so that could happen too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but either way,
and yeah,
you know.
he's part-time, and there are other people who do that as well. Not that it fits into their lifestyle. They want to keep working with kids and staff. Education can really get into your blood. That's really hard to believe. So, I think that that could very well happen here as well.
so we could get an ad out for a principal tomorrow. They could reply to the email where we will then, as soon as we have a job description available. And then I can mail out applications or digitally send applications and then tell them the job description is still being assembled.
Yeah.
And that would get it out there right away.
And the other thing you need to decide is how many days you're gonna do the contract for.
Okay, and you were saying that 14 to 220, I think Bob's was longer than that, so we'll have to look
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah,
I think he was like 260.
cause I was trying to remember what mine was at Whitson, because that would be ample time.
So even if they're normally, they start their contract first July to June.
Yeah.
Then you can always subtract right for this first year,
Right.
subtract July.
Right.
Well, yeah, and I never worked in July, and there was nothing to do. And I saved all my time for August for the start of school, because
then it is full time.
then it is full time.
Yeah, and
Full-time, well,
Yeah,
since they start July 1st, I mean, if it did start July, a lot of times you're full-time throughout the entire school year, of course, but then in the summer, you're 2 days a week or something like
Yeah.
that.
yeah, we used to come in, at Mount Pleasant, came in for board meetings and to get ready for the board meetings.
Yeah,
And when we were doing a redo of the facility, then we needed the contract.
And when you're starting with the principal, then, yeah, the July really is.
Yeah, Yeah, I would guess that somebody, if you hired sometime in July, that somebody would wanna come in and start doing things because, you know, you wanna get,
Yeah.
yeah, you wanna get to know
Right.
the place
Yeah.
before other people start showing. Yeah.
I guess I would encourage the board to get an administrative ad in place as soon as possible. I think, you know, if we're looking for that principal role, like if somebody just wanting to bring both sets of, still be able to, you know, apply and bring that to us, we'll consider that.
Well, let's get it out there and get people responding and see what people ask for, what their questions are. And so as we get, you know,
And I think
we're so flexible.
you'd be more successful getting a principal, a full-time principal,
Mhm.
than you would a part-time. So,
Yeah, right.
Well, then we should start like doing some fallback planning on this. We can't contract out the we need some,
Responsibilities of a superintendent,
no, I think we can, some of those responsibilities.
so do I think we can too.
I don't think we can, we need someone in the building.
And- yes.
Administrative staff in the building every day, which is kind of like we're
Right.
seeing what's there for the
and that's
principal.
what you.
The I have some. I don't understand how taking like what was being done by two people in the building every day, how we're gonna get all of that done. If we're gonna replace them with 1.25 people or one, you know what I mean? And so if part of that is, well, we're gonna do that, but a lot of the stuff that was being done in the building every day, we're gonna go to outside contracts. Like contracting some of that stuff with the ESD that we were doing in-house, I think that would,
I'm hoping the principal will really have some good experience to give us advice on that, because that's there's some critical stuff there.
right.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of the starting point is, you know, who do we have as the face in the building?
Mhm.
And who do we have helping set vision with the board for the
Right.
school? Because both of those two roles kind of like all goes together.
And you're gonna help us with some vision type stuff, or, yeah,
I think,
and if we have a principal to help. To work
yeah,
with us too, then that'd be
I
great.
think that my concern, with like that part-time superintendent is that makes that role, some of those responsibilities are gonna get delegated, of course, to the person who's here every day, and so then working closely on implementing that is important over where that may not be as common sometimes at a district level for a superintendent role in a principal at Spokane,
Yeah,
right, where there's like several principals and that's not a negative, it's just like, we have to realize that's what we would look for in whatever candidate we have filling that role. Because if we get a full-time principal and delegate things like in building as well as grant coordination, working with contractors who are here doing stuff, all of that type of stuff that kind of has flowed up. Then what's left is not a full-time role, right? It's a smaller, like you said, 1 day a week or whatever it is. But we have not offered a contract to our dean of students. And so I'm concerned that what else, we need to support that person as
Yeah.
well in.
Well, the duties there, that's where I was saying, that there are some critical items there, we need to see where they fit the best, and if we have a principal on board to work with Vicky and work with us, I think we'll do the best job possible. And that could be, you know, another half-time person, or who knows what, part of it will go to PCIA, but there's some stuff that we can't just let drop. We have to make sure we're addressing those needs.
And so. We haven't addressed the dean of students contract.
No, we're waiting to decide what kind of management structure do we want. Part of those would be done by PCA, part by a principal, and maybe part by a third individual, like Eric was saying. Yeah,
But our dean of students contract is up already.
yeah,
So has she been informed of any of this?
her contract has not been renewed. We haven't, it was not renewed, expired on June 30th. But we don't have much choice till we know what the job description is going to be. And we get a new person in to help us with that job description.
But my question is, does she know this is?
I told her that after this meeting, then I will send her a letter. Explaining to her what our next steps are and what we're looking at. I couldn't really do it before this meeting. When we come up with our priorities and how we're going to move forward with our management staff.
Yeah, I don't know what Karen's, I never saw Karen's job description, so I don't know exactly what she does. I know that when I talked to the students, they felt that Kayleen was kind of at the high school level was their go-to person for when their things came up with other students or they needed help with something, that was their person, and they felt that Bob was more the principal of the K-8 school and that was her role. And so I think that you do need to have somebody, I think it'll be really hard for somebody to do K-12 completely. I think you need, whether it's a dean of students or you look at what this, I think you have to look at what your principal is gonna bring to the table and then decide where a dean of students or an intervention specialist or some other person might fill in the gaps where the principal can't fill in.
And that role was, so in our PCIA documents, we have to have an advisor. And that every student has a team, which includes an advisor, parent, and a professor. And that is a team, and that team stays with that student throughout the 4 years at the school. So that role that you kind of just described is the advisor role. And that's a very important role that we need to continue to have available for our high school students, our college students. Yeah.
So as a board, that's good for us to know that we're not just looking at a principal like we've been talking about.
Well, like Vicky kind of explained, working with the principal to see, how they would handle making sure we meet those obligations
I
to
think
our student.
what makes the least, my concern in that, what Anita just said, I think I agree with, in that we would have to work with whoever we bring in on what would be ideal, rather than, and because
Work with.
the new administration that we hired, right, principal, if we have a part-time superintendent, whatever we hire, because like, they have a lot of say into having a successful structure, right? I think we can't delegate responsibility without a certain level of authority, and that should flow throughout the school. And people need to have that, so I know I would be concerned if we create too rigid of a structure. I don't know that we are even the most qualified to do that.
Right, I agree. I don't think it's us that should
But-
decide that. That's why I like the idea of Vicky working with the principal to kind of meld those things.
To help bring a structure and
And so ultimately, you'd probably be looking at 2 full-time people
Or you
with 3 people, 2 full-time position.
yeah,
FTE.
as far as this, yeah, I mean, if you've been a superintendent, a principal and counselor,
Yeah.
student or advisor.
So yeah,
The advisor, depending on what else, the principal identified that would work well, could be part-time.
Mhm.
right,
On
yeah,
the
that's,
thing
that's
that
the whole idea, yeah.
you-
Part-time,
full-time, but the
part-time
principal should be-
superintendent, yeah.
I thought somebody was gonna talk to the professors and stuff. And like they kind of wanted to do like they did before, I'm not sure what they did before, but they were gonna maybe could take over those duties.
And you're absolutely right, Bill. There are some things in the PCIA, document that is our, kind of our guiding document that they were doing initially in the first couple of years.
Right, because
Before the,
training or training until the.
Yeah, until
Last year
the,
is doing
students was hired. And so, I think that the union is gonna go over and look at that, because we wanna make sure we don't violate anything in the union, but those duties, and I probably won't articulate them well, but if somebody wants to correct me, it's okay. One of them is transcripts. Transcripts are very important. There have been some errors in transcripts and they're almost impossible to change once you send a transcript to a college and it's wrong. So there's those transcripts, then there's just the transcripts. And this is where the advisor has an important role and that Kayleen helped with, that the PCIA instructors could do and ensure that the student, as he progresses through school, is taking the right classes. The student can, has lots of freedom of choice, and so, that there's that guidance through the school to ensure that the college classes are the right ones that they're taking. And then there's also the relationship between PCIA and the college to ensure that, whether it's new classes coming in or, class number such and such and such and such curriculum has changed, or, so there's that relationship between PCIA and the universities and the community college is really important. And we've had some, needs there. And so that's one of the things that I see, but I don't see everything there, that there could be other things. But the other key element there is the class schedule. That has been a conflicting situation, and so that could be done, and that there's a PCIA instructor, it's very highly capable, who's done the schedule. And getting that schedule done and getting it done on time is important, because once the PCIA schedule is set, then we know what time's available for our instructors who teach at both schools. So then we know what time they can teach at the elementary school once the PCIA schedule is set. So that's another key element that the PCIA professors and instructors could do. And they are doing it actually.
So how many professors are actually teaching at the elementary level?
So the ones that teach at the elementary level aren't adjunct professors. There are, although I don't actually know what their degree is, but you have music, art, and PE and Spanish.
Seems like when I was in high school, we had a home room. We met in our home rooms, and that was kind of like student council, and then they helped us get our classes that we need to do to make sure you made it through high school, and then classes for what you wanted to do after high school, go to the college. And
Yeah. I mean, at a certain level too, though, right? It's like we're looking at ways that can be successful, but not necessarily is the.
Yeah.
Because we have the typical option is available. We're trying to offer. We're trying to offer something else. Well, I don't know that better is the right term. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say that, but yeah, but something different, some other option.
Yeah. Kind of more individualized.
And I guess I'm really hoping that, a perspective from inside, once you get PCIA instructors able to communicate with Vicky and a new principal, that, they may have ideas we've never thought of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important. And I And I think. Working on the, yeah, I think. In. In tech and software development, sometimes there's some dangers in big design up front. And we don't need to. Us as a group don't need to go down that path and say, well, let's
Right,
get all these little things solved. I think that needs to come from. We need to find our new administrators, our new administration. And then start dealing with those other things. So the question comes back to our dean of students. I do think, or I am worried that we're gonna make our new administrator's job harder if we keep removing the carryover. Maybe not, maybe what they would prefer is a fresh start with their, but I think having additional resources rather than walking in just strapped for who's gonna do things is also a benefit to them, and how those resources are used. I think they should have some, they should have a lot of input.
yeah,
over-
it's gotta have a job description, but, if the worst case scenario, we can't get the principal right away. It depends on what we really need and what has to get accomplished between now and the 21st of August.
Well, I think that's another important thing, like, let's get advertising, but like, one thing that Vicky could really help us with is helping understand what's most important for a transition. And, what resources would help somebody coming in.
Right.
Um. I don't, Kayleen's not here, is she? I don't think she is.
No.
'Cause I don't even have a good, like. Is she 50-50 high school, elementary? Is she 60-40? Does anybody have a,
She contributes to the elementary a lot. I read a whole list at the last meeting. There's a lot that she.
I understand, but
I don't know about high school. Yeah.
Well, she was also doing recess and PE
right,
and that's really not part of her job description. I mean, everybody shares in that duty, but that was one of the key things because it was hard to find somebody, because teachers have the time off
right.
during that, like the half hour or lunch and stuff like that. So everybody, kind of pulls their weight. Bob was doing, lunch or mornings or something.
Right, that's,
It's those little things, it's those tiny little things that we just don't realize that are going on every day in the school.
well, and
That
again,
everybody works together to solve.
different administrators have different styles, like some want those touch points with the kids on a daily basis or on.
And that kind of is part of the job of being a principal, is being in the lunchroom, being in the breakfast room, being in the hallway, walking through classrooms. I mean, that's a lot of your job is.
But if you look at the job description, it's almost all PCIA.
For the,
K-Means job description, right? Yeah,
okay. That makes more sense to
it
me
does, yeah.
that it would be,
Yeah.
because
And so, there's other things in the PCA agreement that, I have no clue if it works with the union or anything else, but this team I mentioned, they're supposed to have 1 hour a week. And then, there's, instructors on when they're not teaching or are supposed to do, I don't know what you call it nowadays, but study hall or whatever it is, things like that. So there's a lot of little details that not, going to school there, we're not teaching there, we're not real familiar with, but.
and we need to be. To make
Well-
the right decisions.
Well, I think we're gonna, I'd rather hear what the principal and Vicky, learn after working with PCIA and then come to us with recommendations.
Well, I mean, I think that would be good. I would encourage, Kayleen's not under contract right now, right? So she's not under any obligation or anything else, but if she's willing to talk, I would encourage.
What I'd be really interested in talking to her about what she,
Yeah.
what her role was, and, because the job description might not even be what she was really doing on a day-to-day basis.
Well, right, like the things you're responsible for don't necessarily map out to like. How much of your time goes to each of those things, right? Like one line on a 20-line thing, maybe 40% of your time.
Yeah.
As you know, or even if everything falls within,
And every day's different.
oh, absolutely.
And I would add to what you said with PCIA and, you know, with the principal, we've got to include somebody from the grade school level to, you know, have their input
Well,
with the
our,
principal.
we only have one teacher with the experience, so we'll have the teachers and the paras, and our paras are all the same.
I would think a DNS student would interact more with middle school kids too.
Did some.
At least in prepping them for high school experience. So, kind of deciding which way, because I know you can get either just the regular high school diploma or you the dual.
Right, and then
diploma.
dealing with
So,
like the transfers and
Yeah.
what's how that's
Yeah.
gonna work, or
Yeah.
like before students decide whether they wanna come here or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kayleen basically met with middle schoolers maybe 4 times during a year for high school and beyond
Okay.
stuff. And
So not very much.
How many, so we talked about this, the classes that the high school teachers teach in the elementary school, but how much did we have like kids from your class taking high school classes? You know?
only if 8th grade students test into algebra,
Okay, that was the only class.
pretty much. There was one student, not last year, the year before, that was working with Emily for kind of like a book club type thing. But that's all. Well, yeah, our 8th graders 1 year did Washington State history with Jim.
Okay.
I guess Jeff did tech with, Jeff did tech with middle school.
Yeah.
1 year, 2 years. 2 years.
I also
But
did,
that hasn't been.
Amar has also done stuff remotely with Mount Pleasant. So he actually on their 6th, 7th, and 8th graders who we were bringing in. I know that Dr. Harb actually worked with them remotely. So we provided them laptops, but I know that he taught them classes remotely. I don't know how often or what it was, but I know that he did also contribute to that, but I don't know how much he spent like with your kids now.
And the kids, I think, from Mount Pleasant were bused here a couple of days a week.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
The 6th, 7th, and 8th graders?
They're 8th graders.
Is there 8th graders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it was 1 day a month.
Huh?
I heard it was 1 day a month.
Oh,
beginning.
I don't know.
It was twice a month,
Twice a month.
and the year before was a little bit more. They came, I guess it's probably average twice a month, but sometimes it went into a little bit, an extra day a month or so.
So those types of,
It's a
Yeah,
drop.
we don't want to forget about
Yeah.
those elements like that.
we don't, and those
Absolutely,
types of,
yeah.
those types of negotiations, those types of arrangements. Do you see that as falling more on a superintendent role or as a principal role?
It's more of a superintendent role because the superintendent is who enters into the agreement, and the relationship with Mount Pleasant has to be there
Right.
for PCIA to exist.
And so those types of things, working with the board on that type of strategy and developing those relationships, that's not something we would contract out.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
something we would want
Yeah,
to
no,
have.
but
in
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, we,
If you don't have a superintendent, then that's gonna need to fall on the board
because I
to
think that's
enter into those agreements.
a strong relationship key there.
Absolutely.
So if we, so
It's
we're
a
aware of
necessary.
it. Yeah, right. A relation with the board and that person. So,
Oh,
Right.
yeah,
but a relationship with us and Mount Pleasant.
yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah,
is vital.
And so if we have a part-time superintendent, we don't want somebody just to like be
Yeah.
checking the boxes. We want
Right.
somebody
We
who
want-
is like,
Following.
I would say, still would wanna contract out a lot of the boxes that can be checked, so that like the key strategic stuff and those types of things, they're actually committed to and have the time to put in.
And are responsible for it. Yeah.
So I know that Kathy at Mount Pleasant now has an agreement with ESD for services for doing grants. To take some of that off of her plate since she was there 2 days a week. And there, I mean. We had a lot of contact with ESD. I'm trying to.
So that would be interesting to know what those are.
Yeah, I mean, I know you have
Those
business,
ours. I just wrote that down.
I know you have business services through ESD, because
Right.
they're the same
So
business
hopefully
person
they
that
already
I.
do it. Yeah, but I better find that out fast.
Well, Bob has done some, and then, like, on that last round, we did use. We talked to the ESD to help with the last round,
Well, you mean the facility grant?
yeah.
Yeah, that's being spearheaded by ESD, yeah.
Okay,
If I could interject, I know it's not public comment, in the past, we have farmed out in transition times, we farmed out that superintendent duty to ESD.
Right.
So when
They've
we
helped
didn't
with
have
their
somebody in
stuff.
place, like you're talking about, we had Sharon as a business manager, but we really didn't have a principal. They were able to bring in the ESD folks as a part-time interim, whatever you wanna call it, superintendent while we search for a principal. I know that they can do most of those box checking duties and make
Right.
sure the forms are filed on time and that kind of stuff. So I know that ESD can cover that portion of the show, which again helps us focus on getting a good principal here.
right,
They,
because what
they
they,
will do some of these, but they won't be the official legal superintendent for us.
well, they did,
They used to.
they used to do that because I know there was at least 3 people that were. Full-time ESD employees that then were contracted here as part of their duties 1 day a week to do that.
Do I was told they don't do that anymore, or do they?
I don't know, I
I
have
don't
not
know.
talked to them about that, but
I would check, I would check that out because I think they do it for some districts.
yeah, I don't know who they would be doing it with though. Cause. They
Yeah,
would be,
they don't do the searches anymore. They
Yeah.
just quit that
Oh.
a year or 2 ago.
We also had like, we didn't farm it out to the ESD, but I think we've had people who were both employees of our school district and of the ESD.
yeah, and that's tricky.
Right.
It's tricky for the employee.
Right.
It's better, yeah. Messes with benefits and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Hey, I've got a few phone calls to make here.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they still do that because you're taking responsibilities away from another program to. I'm hearing, so people that I know did it before were like the curriculum director. And for 2 of the people, they were the curriculum director, so they were here, but they were also a full-time curriculum director at ESD, so. I think it's tough for people to do that. And their employees, most of the time are living in the Vancouver, Portland area, not necessarily here.
So we're gonna move forward to look for a principal.
Pardon?
Is that what we're looking for, a principal?
Right. So it is almost 6:30, and so we probably should move forward with our meeting, but the first thing, in our meeting is public comment. Do you guys want to continue discussion here, or should we move to public comment? And you might
So I
want to
guess-
stay for the public comment
Yeah, I will
part.
stay for the
Yeah.
public comment. What I'll do is I'll do a job description, and then if I think I don't know if you gave me everybody's email address, but
I don't think I have sent you a list.
okay, because I can send you then the job description that I come up with and get your input. And then after we have that, then, I will also develop some interview questions and a screening tool.
Okay.
So.
Ready to go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's open the meeting up to public comment, please.
I had one question. When you talked about creating an ad and putting it out there, are there certain spaces where we go to find a principal? Is there like established avenues for, this is where you want, if you want the best candidate, you go here, is it?
If you want to be on the ESP's website, I would also want to be our positions available. There's Washington Association of School Principals has, you know, a place where you can go and find vacancies. There's some on the school administrator's website for vacancies as well. They have a place that you don't have to be a member to go into.
Okay,
I even noticed on WASDA that they had, for school directors, they had.
good, so it's more of a targeted, it's not a shotgun, it's a sniper rifle, I guess what I'm trying to get at, so we're not going to Indeed, okay, let's get all these candidates,
Yeah.
right, we're gonna, it's more focused into where we're. who we're
Yeah,
looking
and I
for.
don't know if when you contact the ESD that they'll automatically disperse that to those, because those are.
That's a good question, if they'll disperse out to the others, or if we
Yeah.
do it individually with each
Yeah, I
one.
would think that it's because there's so much duplication when I looked at those websites that, I
Somebody
think
sent
that somebody sent it all out, but then you can also advertise in, you know, the local paper, the Gorge, the one that's in Hood River.
Yeah, the Columbia Gorge News is now Hood River, the Dalles and White Salmon together. Yeah, and then we still have a paper here, then there's the Camas Washougal Record, I think it's called.
Yeah,
Do they
there's a
still have that
Kamasaki
paper?
record,
Post
and
record.
I don't know if River Talk does, ads or not, I don't really,
Well, River Talk has ads, I just haven't checked to see if they have employment ads.
yeah, that, a lot of people read River Talk.
Okay, more public comment? Yes,
I can comment, I probably noticed, Rachel with the teachers here, but Kayleen didn't teach PE, I just thought I'd correct.
I didn't think you did.
huh?
Yeah.
I couldn't understand. She said Kayleen did not teach PE.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't think she did.
So.
I probably just
Yeah,
didn't
you
speak
probably
correctly.
named off a couple of things, like recess duty for sure, lunch monitoring, but not.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Rich.
So on, you guys are talking about scheduling, and Kayleen helped work with me with the best schedules. So she let me know what time the students needed to be here, so I could work my best schedules out, so I could fit the schedule with the kids. So whoever student scheduling this year for when PCIA classes start, I need to know what time so I can do my best schedule.
I don't think there'll be any changes to start time, no matter,
Okay.
no matter whose schedule we use.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also the Mount Pleasant schedule, she helped me with that. It was on Fridays. We got it changed to Mondays because Fridays is a nightmare driving to Mount Pleasant, all the tourists that are out all year long now instead of just
Yeah.
in the spring and summer. So Mondays, the Mondays or Tuesdays are better than the end of the week. So if you guys are scheduling the Mount Pleasant, if you guys can kind of, last year was Mondays, that worked fine.
Nope. Good catch.
Oh, thank you very much, Naomi. Do we need to do anything? Just Naomi does
No,
so.
she just unmutes.
Go ahead.
Hi, I just had a question, for the principal we're looking for. Is the principal for K through 8 only?
No, K through 12.
Okay, just wondering. Thank you.
That it? Okay. Anybody else up there with their hand up? Thank you very much, Bill. Okay, anyone else? Yes.
Hi, so a couple of things you had mentioned with the interview questions. That you would be coming up with those, and then the panels in the process, and that you would email the board. What does that look like if you're the person applying? Are we going to do a website? Where do those applications go?
The application should be on your website where they can just go and fill it out there.
So the,
That's not my forte, but.
and I'm sure that we'll perfect it as we get it out there, but initially it would just have an email they respond to, and then we would get an application out. And then after that, we would get a job description out.
There's an employment opportunity section on our district website that has like a packet they can already download. It doesn't have a specific application. But that there is stuff that they can click a button and download a bunch of stuff. I think our handbook or some other stuff is in there now, but we would have a specific job description for each job that we're posting. But I think they get like a generic packet, and yeah, there'll be an email, which at this point will be Anita, but it would be whoever takes that role on, whether it's the new principal.
And
or-
that includes the generic application.
I believe so. I
Okay,
think that's on there
alright.
now, but that's how we've done it in the past. And it's just been, we direct them to the website, they click on the thing and they have all the information they need to fill it
Okay.
out.
Thank you for that clarification, because it was getting a little tripped up that it sounds like to me that you are planning on doing a bunch of marketing. But there's no job description, so just making
There still
sure
won't
that
be.
we're not putting the cart before the horse, so to say.
Sure, yeah.
So just making sure that job description and that full packet is there. That's it, thank you.
The job description won't be there initially. We're still working on that.
But, well, it might be there by the time people start, I mean, because if it's gonna be advertised, it's gonna take some time for that to get through the pipeline. And so by that time, the job description should be able to be posted on the website. And I have the application that I filled out from ESD for the Mount Pleasant position. I can look and see if that's any different than the application that's on the website now. It might be, I haven't looked at it in probably 10 years, but I noticed it on my computer and I was looking for some other stuff. So I can see if it looks, if there's any pertinent question that needs to be on there that's not on the regular application.
Yeah, thank you. I would just hate for any of us to be like, oh yeah, no, whatever, it's
Yeah,
just email so-and-so that there's a proper process. in
Yeah, yeah,
place, That they go to the
in
website, that
general, I
all
think-
that information is there.
We should have a email address that's an alias,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We have info at right now, so we can go there. That's kind of generic. At this point, it would go to Anita directly. I would have Anita's name on
The
there.
current ones out there for teachers and subs and stuff have my email, right?
I think it probably just the best practice is create a,
Applications at,
exactly.
okay, that's easily
And
done.
that can forward to there, and
Yeah,
then
forward
we
to
can
your-
use that, and then. If we continue to other positions, or a position stays open and we hire a principal, then they would see those that come in,
Correct,
and
correct.
Anita wouldn't have to forward it to them, and so.
That's easily done.
Yeah, they don't wanna have to forward stuff.
Right.
And then wouldn't that create a quorum if you created a separate app, like a separate space for things to go, rather than it just going to one person on board? If it went to that open space, it means wouldn't it be more accessible to all of the?
Yeah,
folks on board?
we could decide as a board that we all wanna see what's coming in, even if Anita, that would be an option, if we could talk about it. We don't wanna have things that are, like a quorum is what gets us into an OPMA type stuff, so. We don't wanna start discussing in email anything that comes in. We could see stuff that comes in so that we're prepared to talk or whatever.
Great.
Yeah,
But-
And we'll probably go through the initial cap, just like everybody else, and get it down to 4 or 6, and then get it down to 4 or 2, and.
Yeah, well, I don't really, we don't want to have email discussions to a quorum of the board.
That, I guess just my motivation is to make sure that there's just visibility.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
At what point or how will we involve the greater community in the interviews or like selection process?
I didn't hear the question.
When will we involve the greater community in the interviews and selection process?
yeah,
Well-
well, usually you put a team together, and so a team would be the board. And then a teacher or two, a parapro, and then parents. And that's how I put together interview teams. When I took the position at Mount Pleasant, there was just the board. And then in one room, and I interviewed with them, then I went to another room and I interviewed with the teachers. And then they got together and chatted and decided what they wanted to do.
And I haven't talked to the board about it yet, but one of the things that I will propose to the board, once we get it down to whether it's down to 4, 2, 3, whatever. That the community and every family, everybody get involved. And one of the ideas given to me, and it was partially what Glenwood did, is they, you have a picnic and you have stump speeches.
Meet the candidates, kind of nice.
Yes, meet the candidates, picnic,
Yeah,
and
they did
everybody
that at
stands up and gives a little blurb.
Yeah, they had the two or three, I can't remember if there are 2 or 3 candidates for superintendent several years back. And they all came in and it was just it was like this kind of a meeting where everybody listened to what they had to say, and then you had time to go and talk to them individually.
Joanna Rope put on a candidates meet last year in for a forum, and that was really nice. And they basically asked everybody the same exact question, so we got to see each of their takes on the same question, and that was just an interesting venue. It's an interesting way to do that, and people could come in. We had a room full. I mean, there's a lot of people there, and they submitted questions, and then she kind of tallied them up, but asked the same question to everybody. So we've done stuff like that in the past, and I think that's a great idea to get people involved. Absolutely.
I think it's critical to have the community involved.
Right. And we have no idea, hopefully we have to whittle down the candidates, we may end up with 2 candidates or 3, so the whittling down process is.
Go ahead, Wendy.
I would like to suggest you do a student panel as well,
A what?
a student panel.
Oh, great, yeah.
When we
Okay.
just hired our new middle school principal in Stevenson, we had from the school that particular principal was gonna be at, we had like 3 or 4 students from each grade. The questions were already pre-made. They didn't get to come up with them. Round tabled, asked the questions, so then the students tallied up their thoughts and talked with the other principals and our superintendent. So they got to be a part of the process,
Interesting.
since
Yeah.
they're the ones who are going to be affected the most. Since we're doing K-12, I wouldn't suggest the littles, but at least from maybe 3rd grade up through 12, get a couple from each grade.
Yep.
And be the panel, Vicky or whoever could come up with the questions, and not have any other adult in there to influence them, just strictly, except for maybe
Yeah.
Vicky to kind of facilitate
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
But that was a great thing, because you also got to see how they interacted with the students. So,
So do we get to watch through a window?
nope.
So who gets to see how they interact with the students?
So for us, it was our superintendent and the 2 other principals. For here, probably Vicky and maybe a teacher, but someone who's they're not gonna be, the students won't, that are comfortable around, because
Right, so not somebody new that the kids have never
Right,
had any
and,
interaction
like,
with, it's gonna take them.
not to badmouth any of you, but I don't think the kids would be comfortable around you guys to open up and ask questions. So, not any, and if you want to include a parent, don't include the parent of the student in there.
Right.
So,
Good point. That's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, it's gonna be a busy summer. Yes, in the back. Oh. Let me get the lady behind you.
Speakers first. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm Allison Fassenway, and I just have a couple of observations I want to share. I have attended last board meeting and this one, and I just want to encourage all the board that as you're exploring all these solutions, that you also please familiarize yourselves with curriculum and like curriculum headers. I was really blown away by the question from the board last time, what is social emotional learning? And appalled as a parent that question would come from a public school board. So please familiarize yourselves with the curriculum that our kids need to be learning. And I think that social emotional learning can benefit us all as families and parents and teachers and administrators. So that's just one point of, I just would like to point that out. So I know that this is all important, but also like big picture, school board, know what kids need to be learning.
Sorry
And-
to ask that question.
I'm glad you asked the question, and I hope you learn the answers. I think that's what you're here for.
I think it's important we ask the questions and not be afraid to look,
Yeah,
stupid, because we
Yeah.
need to be asking questions.
but also like, you should probably maybe look at the curriculum that's being taught and know what the headers are, so that you can come with questions if you have them about those subjects. If that helps.
It makes very much sense because we approve curriculum,
Yes.
but there hasn't been any curriculum come to the board to be approved. since
Well,
I've
she
been
was
on the
speaking
board.
about the curriculum last time, and the question was asked, what is the subject? So I just wanted to bring that up as a.
Yeah, we'll have another presentation on math curriculum yet tonight.
Great. Anyway, thanks for your time.
That's very important. Thank you.
I forgot what I was gonna say. So in the past, we've also had, candidates come in during the school, well, you can't do that, forget it. There will be no school happening at the time, so forget it.
Should we put a phrase in there that once they come to school, they can back out if they want?
Well, if we hire an interim and we're looking for a long-term solution
Yeah,
during the next school year, then I think what you were about to suggest
Yes.
is an important and beneficial step.
it was fantastic when they came into the classrooms and kind of saw their interaction with the kids at that time.
Right.
What happens if there is no candidate before whatever the start date is?
Great, but.
Oh, we're in big trouble.
Well, I mean,
But that's
is,
a very
does
important
school
question.
begin on that day, like, do we shut doors, like, just, we play that out, what happens?
No, we'll find a way to have school. We have issues to solve, right? We gotta figure out what those issues are and prioritize them, but I don't see.
You would never not have school because you don't have an administrator. You would then take what needs to be done and see who can take over some of the roles that need to be done. And in the short term, until you can find somebody. But yeah, you would never not start school. That you have to have school a certain number of days, so you have a lot of wiggle room. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people would appreciate their kids going to school and into August. Because they wouldn't start school until November.
I think they always have it.
Okay, who's up?
Naomi.
Naomi.
Hi again. I was just wondering if we are required to have an administrator for each school, K through 8 and PCIA by law. Like, I'm just looking at something here on Washington State Legislature, WAC 392-192-040. And I'm not going to read all this stuff, but it says in section 4, building level administrators, a minimum of 1 administrator from the K through 8 level and 1 administrator from the high school level if the local school district provides education services to students K through 12. Does that mean, like, would we be covered having just 1 administrator? Or because, I mean, in the past 6 years, we've had dean of students as an administrator for the high school level, and then we had a principal for the K through 8 level as well. I'm just wondering, like, structurally, do we need to factor that in? Or are we making sure we're in compliance with all the laws and everything?
You can assign a certain amount of the FTE of a full-time principal to a different group, like half of their time is a K-8 position and the other half of their time is a 9-12 position, and so then you do have it all covered.
Okay.
Did you hear that answer, Naomi?
Yep, I got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what we did before we had a dean of students.
Yeah, and the dean of students wasn't specifically assigned to high school only. We didn't split administrative duties like that, so.
But I think,
Bob was both.
but you need to have the responsibility of being the K through
Right.
8. And yeah, the responsibility and those, like.
Yeah, Bob's salary was split both when.
Right.
Yeah, so.
I was gonna add to that point. I don't know without looking at that WAC, but I think that in some technical sense, the PCIA is not technically a high
I was just
school
gonna
or a
say.
K-8 district
Right.
with an innovation academy.
Right.
And I suspect that there is a thing for that, because I don't think technically we had 2 administrators across both.
No, we did not, and you're right, we are a K-8 with the Innovative Academy, we are not classified as K-12. Absolutely right, yeah. Yes,
Just kind of following up on Erica's question, I have a son that will be a junior at PCIA. If we don't have a dean of students at the beginning of the year, like I know I was supposed to meet with Kayleen about doing Landon's Pathways, where he would do online classes through LCC instead of like art or something. How is that? Is there gonna be someone, a professor that knows how to do that, or one of you guys?
well, I just filled out the form for Matthew today.
Okay, okay,
So I'm certainly not guaranteeing that I will do it, but the school will accommodate
okay.
that need, definitely.
Well, I think. That's why we're also asking. Like, let's get our job description out there and then start talking about our transition plan, because maybe our transition plan is that we want to offer our current dean of students a half-time position this coming year, or a full-time position, or a quarter-time position. I don't know, but how does that look as we're bringing someone in to do anything, or not, you know? That transition plan is also extremely important, so that there's
Right.
somebody to answer those questions for
That's
parents.
just one of my many questions.
All right.
that's gonna
Write them all
happen.
down, because we don't want to forget them.
No, I mean, that's the main one. Obviously, the transcripts are big too. Do we have someone who knows how to do?
So we have a lot on the plate. I'm on my, turning to the 4th page of new items or comments. So what else do we have out there? All right, well, thank you very much. We'll move on to our regular agenda. Can we take like a 2-minute break, please? Okay.
I think you can declare that.
Oh, okay. A bathroom break. We'll take a very, very quick break, say goodbye to Vicky.
Oh, thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know.
How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Good. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So where are you looking? It's Stevenson's.
Yeah. Down in Camas.
It's getting a great, like,
Yeah. They're right in the belly.
belly button level view.
Yeah. But they're so long.
Yeah.
Did it get sorted? Did it say the recording? Okay. Okay. They really like. I like her. That's what it is. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh.
Yeah, sounds like it. That's pretty cool. Okay.
No, actually, an hour. It's like minutes there.
Okay, yeah. We'll get it.
Yeah, so that's like. I think all definitely.
Yeah, I missed that. Yeah.
Okay, so.
It's just.
If there's anything that happened.
Just one license for all of the extra.
I can't say much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tonight. Oh, wow. I knew you were-
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many days have you done?
Well, it's funny. Yeah.
But it has all find somebody to do. We improve many.
We haven't, I don't know why we're.
And now, I mean, gotta have the minutes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask. You have to ask.
Yeah. That's.
As we're coming in.
Well, how come I couldn't find my minutes? I must be-
We're pretty June, but the other ones, but not May.
And I don't have June.
It is so interesting.
I know they were. We may not be able to do it tonight, and I kind of explained to you why it's on the agenda for tonight, why it's just those. We call back to order. Okay. Let's do it.
And our facilitator's not here.
So the reason the June minutes are on here is because those are minutes that we needed to have to take to the bank. But Bob didn't wait, he took them down there and signed them before they were approved. So I talked to the bank and they said, don't worry about it, when you get the approved ones, bring them down, but so we don't have to have it tonight, if you haven't had a chance to read them.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Well, I thought they would, I know, see, Lisa left. I mean, she went on vacation last week, and she's going on this week, so I'll pass them out and we'll. And I don't know how far along she is on the others, but I may have to approve her working extra hours to get them done. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I was here.
I know, well, I got a little, on my copy, I have a question mark, Eric. Oh, does one of those have notes on it?
Yes.
Oh, that's okay, you got my copy, it's okay, Eric, go ahead. I just had questions.
So what were you saying, Eric? You were here for what?
I'm not on the list. All right, these are. Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna need time to look at this, because there's.
I know, well, what this is, so this is a direct transcript from the tape, I mean, from the owl. I don't like them either.
I don't see that we need that. No.
At the next meeting, we're gonna talk about minutes. What are we going to have direct transcripts from the video? Or, but we don't have anybody taking minutes right now.
Oh.
You know, other than the owl. So, that's going to be on our plate at the next meeting. Tonight is on our plate, and we're gonna hire somebody to do the.
So who's taking this?
Nobody.
As much as can.
The owl is taking, don't have double coverage again tonight. We haven't had double coverage for 3 meetings, even 4 meetings. Because Bob stopped taking them. So we haven't had double coverage.
Well, I think one of us should be taking some of what else.
Well, I make notes, but there's no way I can get to take it.
They should be minimal.
Yeah, they should be minimal, there should be action items that, or maybe this was discussed or whatever. Well, we don't need this review of baby factors, review of contact, review of, you know. This line item. This is,
I don't know what I don't know is how we typing this or is.
No, Lisa typed this out, so we're paying Lisa to type this.
that's ridiculous.
Yes, we are.
Absolutely insane.
That's what.
All right.
So I think there's some stuff we got, the WASDA and best practices. And the problem that I see with this is there's way too many things in here for us to approve, way too many things that don't matter, and way too many things that can't add. So like, we need to look for-
Bob talked to me about having an AI app type up the minutes from the video. And I don't like AI, but the person do it who is discerning enough to discern what goes in the minutes.
Yeah, but this business of every single comment.
So this, yeah, and this format is Word doc format, which I have to say, I'm not coming to big friends of Word docs.
Well, we can use whatever format we want.
Not according to what she does. She does the newest jobs. But what I mean.
I can guarantee you. I think sometimes the problem with some types of law is that when there's a. I mean, Word docs are basically like, here's our default format. You can adjust this to fit your needs, right? So all you have to do is change the default format.
And I have asked about that. I think you're right, so I will research that.
I think we have a fifth member who is not here yet. But we could be without him, with like asking for this level, but I don't.
Well, no, so Eric, he's asking for the level, or we've done this.
Well, originally, early on, kind of, well, this person said this person said this.
No, one person said we don't use the word set.
Right. That would be simple. Can I audit that?
No, but if I was writing the minutes, I could use the word.
No, I got you. I was saying, like, I even hate. The sound of that, like trying to restate what someone else did, because that's not like, we received comments in favor, if you're gonna say anything, it should be as minimal as possible, because I don't want something in here that's trying to summarize public comment we got that they wouldn't agree with.
That's exactly why you don't say, Sue said, da, da, da. You don't say that.
No, I think they should be. Right. And then we have video. Okay, yeah.
All right, we'll work on that, try to get that fixed, but we do need somebody to sit here and so somebody besides the help.
Yeah. All right.
So this will be in 2 weeks.
Yeah. We were just talking about we did not like these minutes, there's way too much. And there's like inaccuracies, and like fixing the inaccuracies. It's not considered best practice. Right.
I gotta get it fixed.
This went down?
Yes, that's what I wanted. That's why they're typed up in the meetings before that aren't done. Because this is the one that has where the resolution was passed, and the bank has to have the minutes where the resolution was passed.
Glenn's actually watching.
And so somewhere in there it says the resolution. So anyway, we'll get a clean copy and take it and approve it at the next meeting, and take it to the bank. educator contracts, I think we're doing real well there. We just had a few changes. We're very fortunate to be able to have
Yeah.
Katie here all year next year.
Sorry, we're all talking.
Is she here?
Katie, no.
No, okay.
Oh, what? No, another Katie. Oh, another Katie? Oh, okay.
The other Katie.
Oh, the parakeet.
So that
Yeah.
that can help with some of the stuff that like like helping with recess, if we have a second or more para hours. Then we're talking about how those types of things get filled if we have.
Okay,
She
so,
would be available.
so what our budget for next year has is Katie for 6.5 hours for half of the year. So it's 6.5 or 7, I can't remember, but now she's available for the whole year, so we could cut the hours back a little bit, have her available for 4 hours every day for the whole year. And for the same amount of money, or we could increase her hours. And then we still have,
Well,
So I think we need to schedule together to say what makes sense, well, how can we use
right,
it?
well,
Yeah,
and we
when-
won't have that, that schedule quite
so
yet.
when we get it,
Yeah,
then
So-
we can amend.
yeah, and it is just amending the contract because the
If
budget
there's
is
more hours, cause
Right.
yeah.
Because like having 2 people or somebody at every breakfast, like we heard about, and 2
Right,
people in the playground and all of those types of things that some of our administrative staff was helping with. If we
Right.
don't have that in the building, we still need those
and,
coverages.
and based on that, one of the other paras asked to have her hours increased, and so because of that need. One of the big needs that we don't know that we'll have covered yet, and Bob pretty well covered, especially because they live next door. Is who's here when the bus arrives, because it arrives before teachers do sometimes. I mean, some teachers come early, but they're only required to be here 15 minutes before class starts, and sometimes the bus will arrive before that.
When does Lisa come to work?
Pardon?
When does
She's in
Lisa?
the office
come?
though.
I'm not real
I was
sure,
always-
but I talked to Greta, and she explained the situation
I
to
was
me, that
getting-
we need to make sure that we have somebody that's there
was at
first
Lisa's.
time.
I was.
Right.
But we're also buzzing, like, we need somebody in the office who's buzzing people in now. that we
Yeah,
walk
right,
in the
Lisa
door.
can't go do the breakfast
So there's.
monitoring, like,
Right.
I think Bob did
Okay.
that sometime.
Well, I mean, is that right?
Pardon?
So we were talking about like. Breakfast coverage and Lisa's up in the office, and so my
She's at the
understanding is
office.
she needs to be able to buzz people in and deal with administrative, or like.
Right.
People paying a bill, the parents bring their kids in, they need to pay for.
Right.
Lunch or that type of thing.
7:15, yeah, but,
Right,
But you can't come down and be the lunchroom,
no, she cannot do
or,
that.
or we're leaving a hole on, cause that's when our parents are coming and need to interact in the office.
Right.
so anyway, I think we might have a few minor hour changes with our paras. To make sure that we do have something covered in the morning, but we may have a principal who, would love to do breakfast, you never know.
Right.
Well, especially to start with and get to know the kids and,
Yeah, that's right.
that might be valuable.
But as far as our budget goes, I think we're in pretty good shape right now. We don't have to make any adjustments to the budget. To accommodate the need for paras and the need for, be sure we have somebody in the morning and somebody in the afternoon, and
I don't think we can we?
can we what?
Well, one of my frustrations on the budget is. It has to be published. Like now, right?
Okay, I have to get the final, anything we wanna change, I have to get to her tomorrow,
Okay,
right? Yeah.
cause we need to publish it.
And as far as I know, we don't have any real big changes. I think she's already making, some of the minor adjustments.
I find that so frustrating and ridiculous that we present a budget to the public in 2 weeks. But we don't have a process by which we can take any of the feedback that, that we present of what we put out there. 'Cause-
I've always hated that. I personally think the public hearing should be the meeting before we make our final decision and give the budget to ESD. I
You actually
totally
can
agree
do
with
it
you.
whenever you want. Stevenson did theirs in June.
Yes, we can do the public
So,
hearing anytime we
You can
want.
do all of it
Right.
early if you want.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't even start the process as early as most schools do, but.
But once,
and
but if we're doing our
we
public
do
hearing
have
on the
some changes
14th,
That'll take place.
we don't have time to republish any
Right,
changes.
But that's why I'm saying move the whole thing a month
Right,
ahead.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because,
But
I agree
then
with you.
you have the problem of not knowing evidently what's coming down from state. So, you know, money
Not
wise,
true, we knew.
well, some years you know, some years you don't.
Yeah, we
It
knew.
depends on the legislature. You never know what the legislature's gonna do.
Our challenge has been getting the ESD to sign on the work they're doing for us, to have the budget prepared.
I think,
That's what
I
they're-
think the lady that we have now, that, of course, she's only not even been with us for a full year yet.
Right.
I think she's going to do an excellent job. She is
Kristen.
awesome to work,
Kristen's
yeah,
fine.
right, that's her name, Kristen, she's awesome to work with. She's
Yeah,
been,
she seems to, yeah,
yeah, and she will be with us on Zoom for a public hearing.
okay.
And, you know, so. people
We just
ask
have to be
questions.
careful that we don't overuse her. Use her more than we. So, because, you know,
Well, right now we're using her because we've gotta have the budget as accurate as possible.
right,
And there's so many unknowns with our budget for next year. Okay, teacher contracts, I just wanted to make sure it was clarified, the contracts were out there, the board approved them, teachers have come in and signed them, they were due to sign them on or before the 30th. And at this point in time, I just wanted to make sure that it's clear that the board is committed to, when the class schedule is completed, and if there's any need to adjust contracts as a result of that class schedule, that
so
we'll do
all of the
that.
teachers have signed their contracts?
Everyone except
Except for
one.
one.
And we received an email from Mrs. Durham, and she is requesting a leave of absence. And so I've contacted ESD, I've contacted the attorneys to get all the information that we need to consider that request.
Okay.
So then we have a vacancy that we need to also fill.
Okay, you're absolutely right, and I was on the K2 teacher, substitute teacher status. So when we started looking for a K2 teacher, we received a total of
6, I think, is that,
pardon?
yeah, it seemed like you said there was like 6 or.
Well, we had 4 to start with, and then after the team had selected their preferred candidate, we received 4 more. So I have gone through those, and there are 3 that are certified for 3 through 5 as teachers. So I've talked to 2 of them and scheduled an interview for them. And then there's still a 3rd one to get in for an interview. And so the process is that, you know, you have an interview team and you interview them. And then, you know, they get together and there's a form of questions so that they, you know, can ask the same questions and they can ask other questions too. But then once they have a preferred candidate, there's a lot of due diligence to do. You have to do the background check, you have to verify certification, you have to get this form and that form, and Lisa has a packet that she gives to them. And then you have to make sure that the school year, the terms will work with them and the times. For example, one of them, you know, has other activities going on and wants to make sure that that won't interfere with the school times that we hold school. So little details like that. So once all that's done, and we don't let the name out until all that, then it will come to you, to the board to approve.
So as far as the budget is concerned, that the dollar amount for this contract of the new teacher would be, it should be.
The,
Or you're gonna adjust possibly.
yeah,
There is, we have enough, like, in other parts that like the
if
adjustment.
there's a
depending on-
difference between what we're paying now and what we have to pay.
It will fall in, it will fall into
Year,
that.
right, yeah.
So if this teacher asked for a leave of absence and was offered a contract, why aren't we dealing with that leave of absence?
Well, I couldn't, this is a special meeting, I couldn't modify the agenda. And I'm still gathering information, so
I see.
I can go, because it's underneath this teacher contract, let me read you the praise out of the CBA. So that everybody knows. And then I can explain to you that the questions I still need to have answered. So. The key is she did ask the question prior to termination of her contract. That's important. If she had waited until after the termination of the contract, we wouldn't be considered. So she asked it on Friday. Friday was the deadline to sign the
sign.
contract, right?
Okay.
So the district may grant an employee an unpaid long-term leave of absence for up to 1 year for study, child rearing, travel, medical, or other mutually agreed reasons. Employees granted such a leave will be permitted to stay in the district insurance programs at their own expense. And it says carriers permitting, the insurance company.
Right.
And shall not gain or lose seniority or other benefits, but shall not be granted enhancement credit on the salary scale for the period of the leave. Upon return from such leave, the employee shall be entitled to the same position or a position substantially equivalent to the position held prior to the leave. Once granted, such leave may be renewed annually upon request of the employee with the agreement of the district. So the key is that first, the district may grant the leave. And so I'm getting information on what is the obligation of the district if we grant it.
Well, then what's our obligation?
Well, next year, she would, if an opening came up, she'd be entitled to that job.
Right.
And then, I also have asked the question on the, reasons for it, and if we have the ability to, if we grant it, to ensure that, that reason is legitimate. And in other words, so if it's just taken for child rearing, that's pretty obviously legitimate. And then if it's taken for study, then we would have the right to be able to ensure that she's enrolled in a school. And one of the things that we could talk about, if we grant it, one of the things we could talk about is our desire to ensure that study include the iReady math program. Because that math program has some time that the teacher needs to learn it. Make sure I'm saying this right. And so if this individual who took this came back to a classroom where the students were using the iReady math curriculum, but they didn't know how to teach the iReady math curriculum, that would be a burden on the district. So there's things like that we also can think about on this.
Sure. And I think part of that discussion would be appropriate for us to have in executive sessions, and part of it should be in the open.
I could have an executive session at the next meeting. The other thing is the financial commitment to insurance. I'm getting some questions on that because at the employee's cost, so right now, an employee, there's a share. The district pays it all, or the employee will pay some. So is it going to pay everything? And so I'm trying to get the details on that, on how much would the employee pay when it says the employee at the employee's cost, the employee's expense, at their own expense. Is that everything? And the reason that
It sounds like it. I mean, it makes sense.
It is, right? Yeah, it's
Be
everything.
like the employee's total expense.
right, and
If they're
so,
not gonna contribute if they're not.
We just have a small administrative overhead of like administrative insurance
Oh,
program.
yeah,
but
but
that-
and the reason it came up is because our other employee that's going on a long-term leave of absence will be taking a family leave, medical
Right,
leave,
which is
under the state program, which we still pay the a portion of that health insurance
That's different.
coverage.
That's different.
And so that's different there. And then at the time that family leave time is up, then it would be up to the employee to pay the whole thing.
Right.
The other question I have on a term leave of absence, on the one that's taking the family medical leave, will probably need to be carried as an employee in order to qualify for that family medical leave, because they want to use up their sick leave and their personal days as well. Then so I have that question out.
Yeah.
No, you can pay out. It's a program when people move to FMLA or
Okay.
FMLA or Washington medical leave, and you get part of that program, and then you.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly how all those details are gonna work, so I've got an ESD's working on it, the state health, whoever they are, and the attorneys, all three are kind of trying to answer my questions on that.
So I have a question about the Crystal on being entitled to come back. Is there a time duration for that?
So she requested a 1 year leave of absence, but it can be renewed, and there's no time limit on how many times could it be renewed. So that would,
Well, I'm talking about her, if she gets this, if we approve this, then next year it said she's entitled to take a position that comes over.
right, so she,
So that it's what I'm after, is that, is it a 3 month window, or is it a full year? Or if it's 10 years, there's gonna be a time frame, I would imagine, for her to be entitled to.
it doesn't say that in the CBA, but there may be some.
So they can request 1 year extensions, what?
Right.
1 year at a time, the board would approve or not approve a 1 year extension.
Right, and at some point we could not.
No, I
choose
thought
to
you
not
just read
approve
that and it said that she's entitled to take a job back.
When she comes back, when her leave is over, so her leave would be over July 1st.
It in June 30th of 2025, if we granted it.
So
Well, actually, the last day of teacher working, the
Right.
contract ends there, but the last day of
Right.
work is,
Right.
yeah, the day after the last day of school, but.
And so if she's not granted another leave, when she comes back, she would have the opportunity to have her position, or substantially the same position, or.
But she is entitled to a
So let's get into the details of
not
this.
just if one's.
At the next
At your
meeting.
next meeting, you can
We'll
bring
get
us
into the
details,
Details at the
and
next
you can
meeting.
bring us,
The question I was asking is, how long is that time frame? You just said she's entitled, that's what I'm asking, okay, she's entitled
Oh,
for a school year?
typically, it's like,
That's what I'm asking.
typically, it's like, your leave is up, are you coming back? And if the answer is yes, you're expected to sign a new contract and be
I'm
there.
not asking about typical, I'm asking what it says.
It doesn't, there is no time in here. It says you can request an unpaid long-term leave of absence. There's no time period.
But you're looking into how it would all work, so we can answer these questions
yeah,
when we're here.
I see what you're saying, though. You're saying that if she doesn't, then if she doesn't, she takes another leave for another year, does she get a chance at
Well,
a job the
it's-
next year?
Say
So
come
long-term,
next
it
year.
isn't defined.
We have a teacher that walks away and that she's entitled to that position that just came over. So what my question is, how long does she hold that entitlement
To that,
to take
to her
a position?
back, yeah.
That's really all I'm asking, because there should be a time frame there.
Yeah.
If there's not a time frame, then
So
I
where's
never
it?
thought about that because you'd think if they didn't come back, then.
Right.
then you have
If
a
they're-
permanent, you fill the position permanently.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah,
fill
and
the
we can
position permanently.
approve a 6 month term, long term, yeah,
Right.
So, yeah.
yeah.
But employees come and go all the time.
But it is a good question to
Yeah,
have the
that's
answer to
exactly
from
right.
somebody other than us, yeah.
Right. That's what I kind of get at. She's asking questions to a lawyer to.
Okay, on the K2 teacher status, we're doing our due diligence. Lisa gave her the package. She's, the background check and all that stuff's going through. Lisa is on vacation until next Monday, and so, she might have all that packet back by then and be able to start the next step.
So in other words, she's not taking July off this year.
She is,
Yeah.
so normally she would come back the day before a board meeting to prepare for the board meeting, do the AP and stuff like that. This year, she has said she will come in whenever we need her.
Okay. Cause I know she usually works someplace else.
Yeah. 2 other places, I think.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to the tech equipment and curriculum purchases. I confirmed with Kristen, we have the money in the ESSER fund to be able to purchase the tech equipment and the curriculum purchases. Doug has told me that the tech equipment, which I gave out the list last time, that he has done the research to find the best price on this equipment. Did you want to add anything to that or say something?
Well, the only thing about the tech is it's very fluid because things change so quickly. So the sooner we can say yes and commit to those prices that we got a quote on, the better. If we go another couple of weeks and I can't say, here's a PO, let's get those going, the prices will change, the gear will change, and it'll be sort of starting back over. So the prices in that respect are fairly fluid. So we want to kind of make sure we jump on it.
So last time I saw your list, it was 15,000. So you priced it right now to 13,000?
Well, I would look at the list, and again, there's other stuff, curriculum is gonna be in there too, so the stuff that's the most important to get now and save the money on now, that's what I would go for and try to make that happen first. But yeah, that's. the
So
only
right
thing
now,
about-
this is a good start to get the.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Again, if we split it, okay, at least we get the student machines that we'll need, or we get the administration machines that we need, and we figure out the other one out of the new budget or whatever, so however that works.
So Anita, when it says 13,000 available in 23-24, does that mean we were wrong when we said there's about 20,000 left in ESSER funds?
Well, she told me first 20,000, so I'm not sure why I put 13 there, because but it could be, she said, I thought she said 8 and 7. So anyway, I talked to her, she said there's no problem, we've got room in the budget, but on the ESSER funds, I guess, I don't know if that was my typo or what.
But, okay, so we're talking tech equipment and curriculum
Right,
for this 13,000,
right.
but
But I-
this tech budget is 15. Just tech.
But that's what I
think
just
that
asked
the-
him.
Right.
Yeah, but we were gonna talk about the.
That's why I just asked Doug.
I think we had total of 13 for tech and 7 for curriculum. Is that what the price is for the math?
Approximately, approximately.
Yeah,
And we confirmed that if we purchase is that an annual cost? Or what portion of that's annual?
Part of it would be.
And
so she has kind of a presentation that she can do.
Can we just do it right now?
Yep, she sure can. It's part of
All
it.
right.
It's titled ESSER funds, so.
Right.
Thank you.
So, for those of you who don't know, we do not have a math curriculum that's like K-8. And so I've looked into a curriculum that would help us have that continuum for all grade levels in MAS.
So currently each grade is doing their own set of math, they're not following one continuous line. That's happening
For
there,
grade.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for each classroom, we're doing whatever. math.
okay,
Yeah.
oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So you will see on the quote that a good portion of it is professional learning. And for a school implementing this for the first time, they have 3 days of professional learning. 2 are in person and then 1 is a webinar. And I think it would be important for us to get that professional learning that first year for sure. I do know that, yeah, so, the cost for following years. They said the teacher guides and digital access is provided at no cost for the first year of implementation. Following that, only the digital access will need to be renewed as long as no additional teacher guides are needed, which there shouldn't be. The student workbooks are consumable for all grade levels, which is for me is unusual in the middle school level. So those are reordered year to year. I have asked if we could use them as textbooks in the 6th through 8th. And the rep said that we could discuss that after that first year, if we choose to continue on with iReady after piloting basically next year. I did talk to Dr. Harb and he looked at the curriculum. He's not familiar with it, but he looked into it. And he said it looked like a solid curriculum and that we could try it out next year. And at that point, decide what we think about it. The student iReady licenses will need to be renewed year to year. And then professional learning can be down to 1 or 2 in-person or webinars needed per year. But if we keep the curriculum, once we get into it, I can't see needing that professional development every year.
Are we spending any money right now in any particular classroom for any math curriculum at all?
I think the 3rd through 5th, which is his workbooks, Erica's not in here. Oh, do you, Erica, have anything that you're purchasing math wise?
For like, you mean beyond iReady or like current?
Oh, money we
Current,
might
like-
save if we get iReady. I was just looking at that.
There's nothing that needs to be purchased for K2. And my suggestion was that this coming school year, we pilot iReady in the 2nd grade.
Yes, right. I think I would,
K2.
yeah, you said that.
Yep, and that's
Okay.
That's
That's what it
with this
shows
quote,
here, okay.
we don't have K1 on this quote. And we are not purchasing anything for math in the middle school.
Okay.
There's no cost on Khan Academy, right? Or do we pay?
On Academy, no, there's no cost. That's kind of a side thing. This would be a core curriculum.
No, I understand.
However, there would be a cost for manipulatives. Like this, I mean, this school needs to take inventory of what math manipulatives they have, like blocks they have that match the incoming math curriculum. And if it's determined that they're missing pieces that would be important to have, they need to invest in those.
Yeah, and I printed out the manipulatives that are needed, but I did not add it to this because we haven't taken stock in what we have. I don't know if there would be a lot, but I'm not positive. So I just kind of highlighted the grade levels on that 2nd page. Just so you see, there's the teacher guide and digital access, and then there's the student work text with the digital access. So the work text with digital access for students would be every year. And of course, our numbers are gonna change. This is on numbers that I think we might have at the start of the year as far as students go.
So the professional learning says up to 6 hours and then the web air 90 minutes. So do you have any clue how this might take place? Because do we need to have teachers come in a day earlier?
Well, we have-
One of the first 5 days.
I would
before
think
school
that we
starts?
could do it
In the first
during
5
those
days, okay,
days. And they don't have to all be done at once either.
okay.
They can be spread out throughout the year. So definitely at least one day before school starts.
And you only have to do this one time, the professional learning side. Or is it every year?
So what they said, professional learning also needs to be purchased, though the number of sessions required following the first year of implementation decreases. In subsequent years, 1 or 2 in-person sessions or webinars are needed per year. I don't know if that's because of updates or what. So I'm not positive, Keith, on that.
Luckily, math is math. It's only good.
Well, and so I'm wondering if the professional development is just because of updates with their
Software there.
digital system. I don't know that. I would have to
Yeah.
ask more.
So
about.
do you think this is a good system? Yeah.
It looks good. I mean, we had a demo and I thought it was good. It's better than what we have. Let me say that.
Okay.
And, I did say Ed Reports, which is a group that looks at all different curriculums and this curriculum had 100% in each category that they look at.
So the Common Core Teacher's Guide is digital access, which they're basically giving us free in the first year. Then we
That's
don't
what
have
it
to,
said.
then we don't have to buy teacher's guides in future years, but are we gonna pay for the digital access?
Access, yes,
So there's gonna be a cost that's not included in the first year
right,
that we'll have in subsequent years for that digital access.
Right.
Do we have any idea? Like,
What it
so
is?
it's somewhere between the 6,800 and 11,000 a year. So basically what we save in less in less professional learnings will probably go back to digital access in future years.
that's my understanding.
Okay.
I'm not positive. I would have to clarify that.
Just wondering,
So,
how big of a commitment we're making? Is it
Right.
like a $6,000 commitment, a 3,000 or a $10,000
exactly.
commitment per year
Exactly.
for ongoing years? I mean,
So,
if it makes sense, if it's an improvement, the question of whether it's worthwhile for our kids.
Exactly, and I don't think we'll know that
Right,
unless we pilot it, try it out.
the other question, Anita, is, I think if we go forward with this, it's important for us to understand how much of this we can pay for with ESSER funds.
well, you could pay all of this with ESSER funds.
So we can pay all of 24, 25 digital access costs.
We can pay the $6,830.
ESSER will cover all of it,
Pardon? Yeah, without ESSER funds. that's
because some
right.
of it is for like the access during the 24, 25 school year rather than 23, 24. So that's why I was wondering if it'll cover it.
If we're purchasing it now, yes. If we can't pay it for anything with ESSER funds after the end of July.
Okay.
So are we limited to 13,000 in the ESSER fund?
I think we had 20, but with this, and if we can do some, so for example, one of the things is the security system. I think we probably should wait on that till we get a principal in and do a little more research on that, and then we may be able to not get the first laptop on the list until later. And that's something we might look next year after the year starts. So I think this number will come down some. There were the other things that you were saying that we could reduce the costs on.
Well, there's certainly, there are certain machines that it'd be nice to replace, some don't have to replace, we could probably get another year out of them, so it really is, that was like. That was between the dream list and gotta have list, so that's like right in the middle, so there's stuff that. We can eke it along another year if we have to, but I really do wanna try and keep the machines newer, especially in the administration, of teachers and hands. But yes, there's some stuff we can pull back on if we have to. Again, remember, this is last year's money, use it or lose it. But we still have next year's budget where we often buy computers at the first of the year for the
Yeah,
year.
this would be purchased what we have a limit, but we can spend another, $6,000
So we don't, and
with ESSER funds.
we have 20,000 in ESSER, so is this 13 plus 7? Is that what we were? Is that how that's
I
coming?
think so, yes. But I think that there's also the regular budget we have every year for IT
Right,
stuff.
so
Exactly,
even if we don't
exactly.
have that 20,000,
Right,
then next year's.
next year. And so if we want to put some of
And
this
we
on
got till the end
next
of the
year.
month to spend that money, so.
Yeah.
Right.
So we might need some priority. I mean, are these a mid-range machines for PCIA students that are first priority?
Yeah, if we can, because those are the ones that are gonna change the most and go up in price the most. So there's more entry level machines, we definitely wanna try and tie in, and again, the tricky part is, we don't have real numbers on how many students we're gonna have. I'm trying to replace ones that I know are really beat up and they shouldn't be given back to a student this next year. And I can easily find 5 of those that, yeah, we probably should just put those on the shelf and move on, so that's kind of what those are for. But if we have more students, we still have the ability to use them. So that, again, it's tricky because we don't have numbers on how many students we have.
Okay, then we have, I mean, there's categories here. And so that I was wondering if we want to have priorities in the
I
categories.
certainly think that would be right.
Yeah, machines, certainly machines
Then we have
first.
the instructor machine.
Yeah, exactly. Instructor machines are also important because some of those are 7 years old and in tech, that's a decade. So we don't want,
Okay.
running that old a machine.
And then we drop down to projectors and another printer.
Correct. Printers not as a secondary thing. The projector is something that the teachers have asked for a couple different times and personally, we have it in one of the rooms and I really like to stress parity within the room so that they all have a TV, they all have a projector, they all have the same stuff from room to room. So one teacher isn't feeling like, oh, they got that and I didn't, So I like to keep a parity between the rooms if we can. So it'd be nice to get those matching projectors from the other two classrooms, certainly.
And I've been asking for 2 years.
Yeah, so the sheet,
Well, I was just asking you that, like,
yeah,
2 years.
because parity
asking.
for somebody who's not gonna use it doesn't make sense either.
true, but it's one of those things that if it's in the classroom, they'll use it. It is, if you build, they will come in a way, certainly with the technology, so. And certain teachers will gravitate back to the TV or the projector. It's really, you don't know who you're gonna get in the classroom. I'm just trying to give all the options to each teacher so that they have what they need. So, and again, remember that if we need to, for money wise, that can come out of the next year's, but that can be a part of next year's budget. We're gonna buy projectors out of the next year's budget. That's not that,
Well, our annual budget's not user, the ESSER funds are user.
That's what I'm saying, exactly. So it makes sense to get the machines now
Yeah.
while we can and before that money's gone.
Sure.
Yeah,
And you're already taking 2,000 out for the security thing, and if you take this 2,000 for the projectors, and bump it to next year, then that takes.
Takes us down to a reasonable amount.
Right,
Yeah.
but then, let's talk about, cause now if we actually have 20. And all of this is covered, we have a little bit that we wanna make sure we spend. to come
Right,
back in.
exactly, yeah.
Maybe one of the projectors or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then however that
Right.
works out, there's plenty places that can get spent. And certainly,
But the priority list
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
$1,000. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, when you're talking a printer, 300, or, yes.
Right.
Okay. But our other items are more, yeah.
Okay. The next one is the art teacher.
So are we gonna just go ahead and approve this and,
Well, yeah, do you wanna? guess we should
because
go-
you got until the end of the month, so you probably.
I don't know if we have to have a motion,
I
because
don't-
it's already
no,
money in
it's
the
a-
budget.
it's-
No, it's budgeted, it's what we have there, I think, so we could just we just tell them like,
Yeah.
let's.
Move forward with
Let's
it.
move forward with with that priority we just talked about,
With-
with what's available in ESSER funds.
And if that's the case, it'd be really nice, like tomorrow I could come in and create a PO and get that to those people, so we can at least lock in those prices, lock in those machines. And remember, the PO can get paid whenever it gets paid, but at least we can lock in, but we are gonna buy these at this price, 5 of those or 4 of those or whatever. So that would be nice to
And
be.
I don't know exactly how the financial system works, but if we do it by PO, one of the issues we have is we don't have a credit card right now that can be used because. Well, Bob's name had to come off the credit card and they're putting Lisa's name on it, but they haven't actually issued a card to her yet. But if we could order by purchase order. I think that then gets the payment coming in and then just paid on a voucher, right?
Are all of these, like, they're not Amazon, they're.
No, they're all through something I can do a PO, absolutely.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So that's
You can get a
ideally,
purchase order to the vendor then bills us, as that bill
Yep.
comes in before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So you didn't
Same.
have, a credit card just made to Lisa right then?
What?
When you had Bob's name taken off, they didn't produce a credit card for Lisa.
I have no idea what he asked when he went down there. I called and talked to the vice president of Umpqua Bank, whom I know really well. And she said she will check and see what the status is on the credit card and get it moving.
I thought Lisa said she already had it, but she doesn't.
No, she's not one in her name.
that's the issue is, they look at the person's name, and then you've got credit issues. And Lisa probably doesn't have the standing that Bob had as far as like credit goes. And so even though it's a school card, the fact that someone's name is on it, that does come to play. That's what Lisa was saying. So that's why they had to kind of skirt around that and say, no, it's not me, it's the state of Washington. You're gonna get paid.
I tried to tell the bank, we don't need a new No, we just need a new name.
Well,
on the
that's why I'm saying, I'm surprised, when you're taking Bob's name off, it's a machine. They make it right then and there.
Right, right.
It takes 2 minutes.
A card for Lisa,
That's the last.
petty cash. And people can pay things with their credit cards and stuff up there.
That's different. Yeah, that's for them to
Yeah,
pay
that's
us. She's got a card so she can make payments, like we buy something off Amazon.
Yeah.
Right.
And she doesn't have a card yet.
Jennifer?
So I'm just trying to figure out, so if POs are used. Cause that money has to be spent
Right,
by the end of the month, so Lisa then will get,
by the end
Of
of
By
July.
the end of
it
No,
is July.
August.
Oh, August,
End of August.
okay.
Yeah, our
Okay,
school
so-
year, the
Got it.
financial year ends the end of August.
Oh, that's
Yes.
better.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
that makes
Right.
sense.
No, by the end of August.
That's why I started
Now, if
saying.
you
That's
order
what
through
you do.
Amazon,
That's
you
why I
go in
was-
and order
yeah.
through Amazon.
So we're approving both of these?
Yes, and we're doing some
As much as
modifications
there
on
are
the tech
funds.
one.
Yeah.
But if you order things like school supplies through Amazon, you can go ahead and order those.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just if you have to give the vendor a credit card number.
Yeah, no, I was just concerned about the ESSER funds being,
Right.
No, they'll be-
Yeah.
Before the end of the school
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
yeah.
and again, that quote that I gave you is my best guess on numbers of students. in each grade
We
level.
could figure that out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It makes sense.
Same with mine.
If there's two less and you're like, that Jennifer's a liar.
As long as there's not
The $164
not
less
10
than
more.
Right, yeah, that's the big thing more.
$820 more.
Okay, so that money part's done. Let's go to the next one. The art teacher is asking for supplies and some of these things. Every teacher is given a budget when the school year starts to buy supplies and stuff, but she would like to have a kiln. And are you coming up? to
I
do a
am, hi.
presentation? All right.
Hi, board, I'm Social Springer.
We're walking up for some reason.
Of course. My name is Social Springer. I'm a parent with a current child in Mill A. And I'm here to talk on behalf
Thank you, Bob.
of our incredible art teacher, Ms. Giles, who would like to request, before you is a written request from her, but I'll be the voice this evening. It's a request for a kiln and supplies for pottery courses for the school. We are requesting ESSER funds to cover this. I'm gonna get to some quick bullet points while you scan over that. Yes, courses are currently approved through the Columbia Gorge Community College. So those are accredited, ready to go. 2, this would be an investment for the whole school. This would be something that K through 12 would be able to utilize. 3, this would be a long-term investment. This is something that all of our students would be able to, again, utilize. This is something that we could build towards every single year. So just some data points I would love to give you. Again, she highlights them much more eloquently than I do. I just want to advocate for this as a parent. Because again, this would be a great marketing way for folks to come to our school, is having an incredible art program. So if you look at the last page, which gives you the totals. Option A is the premium package. This would include the larger kiln, the throwing wheel, etc. And that's approximately $5,433. And then again, it'll break down. She just looked into these prices. This is very fresh within the last week. So the websites that are on here are current as well. So we already know where the equipment would come from. We have a pretty clear idea of turnaround time so that we would be able to get the wheel and all of these items. If the board approves it this evening, we could have this equipment before school starts this year. Option B, and then it goes down from there. So option B, again, the smaller kiln and throwing wheel, $35.27. Option C, and it goes on from there. But again, what I'd like to ask for the board to consider is the premium package of option A, which is items 1 through 4. This is on the last page of the proposal, which is about approximately $5,433. Utilizing ESSER funds, because again, it would be a whole school investment. Any questions?
I have one for you.
Okay.
So when Canyon was coming up first, did she talk with him about where that would go and how it would be, hooked up, because there's power constraints, power issues in the school already. So we want to make sure we had a safe place for the kiln to go. Does it have to be vented? There's all kinds of questions. Is any of that configured into her pricing?
That's a great question. I'm gonna ask Greta for some backup in that
Okay.
conversation.
We just got this.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about those conversations, but I know that some of those have been had.
Okay, good, okay.
I don't know detail.
No.
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, so just to back that up, it's not, it wouldn't be new to Tim.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a surprise, so.
So maybe we qualify for this work of how much it's gonna cost.
Yes.
Pull in new wiring for a thing that, you know, that's.
No, and I appreciate that consideration. So I know that we had talked earlier about kind of the infrastructure that could happen. So that would be another great thing to consider
Right.
of the long-term investment in our school.
Right.
Is if we were to, if the board were to support the kiln, that what would the wires look like?
Right, right.
Okay,
Thank you for that consideration. So,
so.
yes,
So we have options here.
yeah.
And so the ESSER funds commitment was a couple of meetings ago when it first came up to us. But I do think that that doesn't mean this isn't important by any means. It just means that we don't have the ESSER funds for it. So I'm trying to find other locations we have. We don't have room in a specific budget category that says equipment, but there may be room in the budget itself.
Okay.
But also when I was, this was first brought up, not at a meeting, in a personal conversation, it was suggested that the PTO might be willing to pay for some of these things. And then supplies, of course, would go under the classroom supplies budget. And so have you talked to the PTO? Are they willing to help out on this project?
Yeah, great question. Hi, I'm Social Springer. I'm the proud treasurer of our Mill A PTO. Here to talk on our behalf. I know, surprise everyone. I duped you all. Yeah, this is actually the consideration, but that's why we wanted to kind of be fiscally responsible. So if there were already school available funds, since this is a full school investment, to see if we could utilize budget already available through the use, because again, we don't want to waste really wonderful money, and the greatest thing is to have too many options. But as the PTO, we do have funds that are available and do have a plan to invest in these items.
Which option? You presented 4 options. I don't know how we as the board would choose between the 4.
Yeah, I would love to
And-
guide you through that process if to encourage based on kind of where you guys are at.
And before we go too far on that. If we choose to support this, and if the PTO is gonna be covering deficiencies as we look at this, I don't know. I think that'd be something that would be great for us to support. I am concerned that the professional development may or may not, is that covered in ESSER? Because if that's not covered in ESSER, we may have more. More funds available, the professional development that's on here. I think we need to, I think.
Training for this, right?
Right, yeah, I think we need to do this anyway. I think that if we're gonna go forward, we can support that and the cost makes sense. But if there's funds available there, then.
And what I need to know is when I talk to Kristen is how much money am I looking for? And so, we have all these options here. And, I don't know how the board is supposed to decide what the best option is. Because I think that originally, weren't there several different kilns involved?
Yeah, there's a large kiln and a smaller kiln.
Okay.
It's kind of where I'm going. So again, if we look to those, I don't know folks on the boards like ideas around, or your knowledge around items. Me, it's 0. I have my full faith and trust in what is being presented. So that's when I say, hey, I encourage you to look at option A. That's all of, again, Ms. Val, Ms. Candy looking at every single item and saying, yes, the larger kiln would be wonderful.
The largest.
This would be a great option for everybody. This is something that all of our youth could utilize. This throwing wheel is, the better option because it's a long-term investment. So I hear what you're saying. We're like, oh, how would I go through? And again, I do see you, but also it's, the way she goes through, so it's like option A, cream of the crop, this is like, yes, this is, if the board was like, do it, spend the money, get the best you can, option A. If the board was like, hey, great idea, let's be more fiscally reasonable, that's option B, so that's a little bit, that's the smaller wheel. So let throwing, but that smaller kiln. And then option C goes into items 1, 2, and 4, so, which leaves out the manual wheels, but again, it just keeps in that larger kiln and larger throwing wheel. So again, we're just taking out some of the tools and items, and then it goes down from there of quality.
Yeah, and I guess the other question is, I don't wanna approve $5,400 or a $2,600 purchase, and then half of which is paid by the PTO, and then be told, well, but now we need, the bigger kiln needs a new 50 amp circuit, the smaller kiln needs a new 30 amp circuit. Hopefully we have room on our panels and what's the electrical commitment we're making to run new circuits and install the
About the
kilns?
same as
So I-
a clothes dryer.
Briefly
Electric
talked
dryer,
to him,
about
and he
the same,
doesn't
so
have an
it's
answer
double
for the
30s.
installation
Double
cost.
30s will run it, you're talking a 39 amps is what, so you're a double set of 40s. But my concern would be you're talking about 12 hours. So firing can last up to 12 hours and can be scheduled by programming the kiln to come on at night or on the weekends. So you got a kiln firing up, being timed to fire up, who's gonna be there with the kiln? So you have fire issues, you have, this is a school, this isn't my house. If it was my house, no big deal, I can get away with it. What does the fire marshal say about a kiln coming on at a school by itself and nobody there?
Yeah, I appreciate that, what I hear you saying, so 2 things, 1, I wanna answer this question, then go to Megan, and then come over here and then go to Ms. Sullivan. So we can stay on course. 1, I do appreciate that, so what I hear you saying, there's 2 things happening, it seems like, yes, this equipment would be great, but let's think about our building, how do we bring Tim into this conversation to have a clearer idea of the infrastructure needs to make this successful, and then 2, what's in place to create protocol around the equipment.
Right.
Great, I'm gonna go again, Megan, and
what?
then,
Okay.
okay,
I don't really need to say much because it sounds like everyone's on board for seeing this is a great value for our school. As somebody that works on an academic team with Candy and with Clay, the size of the film does matter. Like we did an interdisciplinary science, art, landform in which the size of it was quite large. And it was really cool. The final product was really, really awesome. And so I think that the size of the cone matters in terms of what you're able to produce.
And so,
Especially if you have a room full of kids that are putting these things together, you gotta,
yeah,
okay, sorry, you have to wait, we're gonna put these,
so
you didn't be able to put everybody in.
I did have a brief conversation with Tim, and he says it can't go in the classroom. So it has to go somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it's a big fire hazard.
Right?
Pardon?
The snack shack out in the field. I don't know, I heard that was brought up at some point.
I-
Top shop.
yeah, I do wanna come back to Diane.
I don't see anybody here that would know that the kiln, what the size of the kiln was that we had here. But we did have a kiln
We did have a
for
kiln.
many
In that
years.
room back there.
Right, it was, yeah, I think it was actually in the, yeah,
It was
it
in,
was in the
Little
bathroom.
kitchenette now.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
What, yeah, but I don't know, but I know it was, I know it was Mrs. Farrell, it was hers personally, that she let the school use for years.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I don't know this.
I don't know, I mean,
I don't know the,
but I don't know
yeah, I don't know the
comparison.
amount
what
of
that
powers,
is.
I don't know I just know we did have
Yeah.
one, it was used. Yeah, probably, maybe wouldn't get away with it, but I know Mrs. Farrell would come over here. She'd leave school and then come back like later in the evening or midnight or whatever to,
So
when it ended.
what I was talking about as far as the fire marshal, so 5/8 drywall is a 2-hour is a 2-hour rated firewall. So you could double that, make it a 4-hour, that, it could be as simple as fixing that, through the fire marshal. You know, all you have to do is have a communication with the fire marshal, find out what he wants, what he's gonna recommend, what he'll sign off on.
Yeah, I don't wanna spend $5,000 and then find out it was a $50,000 project, it's what I don't.
Right, no, and,
They're committed to.
and
To
again,
get over
I,
at the speed.
Jennifer, I still acknowledge you. I just want to wrap up this portion. I do acknowledge, again, the commitment to making sure that the infrastructure supports this. So that is very exciting to hear that it's like, hey, again, what community, stakeholders do we need to have involved? What does that look like? And again, Candy is someone who has a wealth of knowledge and has utilized these types of tools in other schools. So I think she would be a great resource to find those protocols. And we have Tim. Tim's loves safety more than anybody, so, whoa, that is officially on the record, folks, so, Jennifer.
I was just gonna bring up where Diane did that, we used to have a kiln in here. So-
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Is that a hand by Naomi?
No,
No,
that's
it's just her beautiful flower.
It's the mouse, it gets yellow, it's the yellow hand when somebody's raising. their hand.
If I remember in the old building, because there's a size constraint, I believe there were ceramic tiles. You're talking about multiple sheets of sheetrock. I believe they actually had the thing surrounded by ceramic tiles, like thick tiles, so the thing sat like on a little hearth and it had like
Right.
a brick edge around it because of so much heat.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I don't know.
The new rules might require the whole room, ceiling and all.
Right, that's,
to be
yeah,
a firewall.
In
Candy's report, she mentions fireproof panels.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that would, yes.
And so I think that the board, loves the project and wants to support it.
Kiln will
We're
lead
not
us
sure
here.
how to move forward, but the other thing that we need to think about, and again, this involves Tim and Keith's Electric and Knowledge, et cetera, is that if we purchase this and then we install it somewhere, it may have to be moved. We have other facility issues that need to get addressed. We've applied for a grant, but we're probably 2-3 years out before anything would happen. We may have to do something between now and then. And so, I don't know exactly, we need to know where we would put this and how that might or might not impact any other needs we may have. And the other big need that is applicable with this is the location of the art room next to the science room, which shares the entry door and creates a huge issue for students because you can't just put a little partition around there so that the high school kids aren't walking through the art class directly, but the art class kids need to be able to access the sink, and so does the science room need to be able to access the sink. And so we have an issue there. We need to get some kind of way to get fumes out of the science room.
Well,
So we've got some big facility things.
we're
coming up.
asking a lot of questions, but now I'm reading like what you presented to us afterwards, and it says. The kiln will need a secure and safe installation in a place where masonry already exists, where fireproof panels can be installed. Or it can be freestanding on a cement floor with an accessible 240 plug. It would be ideal to have it in one of the outside buildings.
Like the snack shack. Right, so. Again, I want to encourage you to kind of take a moment, read over this. Candy put this together, and I get a great questions, because this is the whole point, right, is to ask all these questions, but, and
Yeah.
again, if right now, if the board's quite not ready to give like a, yay, let's do this, have $6,000, that's fine. But I would just, I would love a call to action to, have this on the next board agenda or.
And I think that if
Approval.
it could come back with a report from Tim on his suggested locations, costs for each location to start with.
Great.
And requirements.
Yeah, I just-
Safety and,
Right, because
Yeah,
there's, including safety,
yeah,
location, installation, safety,
But
which
yeah.
location would be part of that. That would be a big thing, a big help.
Yeah,
And then,
that sounds like a perfect next step, because that would encompass, again, what you were talking about, infrastructure.
Yeah.
Safety, what's available, what's not available, and potential long-term costs.
Yeah, what's the project's cost and timeline?
well, and I don't, even if we approved it at the next meeting, I'm not sure it could get installed by the end of the year, so some of that, the installation costs may end up being next year's cost.
oh, probably.
Yeah, again, I would love to have it be on the board agenda, that next month we were able to come back with a report from Tim about what that would look like before the board, starts having ideas of, I want this done, so.
Yeah, and you know what, I probably didn't hear, your answer to, so is this like a, you know, a proposed 50-50 share with the PTO or?
We would like to ask if there are available funds already from the school within ESSER funds or any funds currently available 100%, because it is a full school
I
investment
need
for
to
K
find
through
that out
12.
before the next meeting.
Yeah, that if there are funds available, we'd love to utilize those. Again, it's a full school investment. And a part of our STEAM programming, but if not, the PTO is available. Stan, I see you. The PTO is available to provide monetary support through our fundraising efforts. Stan.
I have an idea to make it like, if we can get it to make it more fun, more safer. My idea that we use a fundraiser to possibly construct a completely different building on school campus. And that is where we have like, that kind of.
Well, you know what?
Wonderful. I love your idea
Nice
to making our
social
school continue to grow, so.
Combine a fundraiser with the ice cream social.
So thank you, board. We can be done again. I look forward to our next meeting where we'll present our feedback from Tim. If you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to email Greta and she'll forward it to me. All right, thank you, everybody.
So perfect, pretty well. Agenda. Okay, the next summer workshop, we are not having summer school. It's been suggested that we have a summer workshop and honestly, I just don't think we can pull it together, but let's start planning for something next year. So we're well in advance with our plans to make something happen. If you pay attention to the media, there's summer stuff going on all over in other districts. And it just, you know, makes you want to cry that we're not doing something. So let's start early. We just can't do it at the last minute like it is here. I mean, we didn't even start our summer school planning until school was practically out. So we could find a teacher for summer school. All the ones that sent applications in, I asked if they were available. And everybody had travel plans or something else. So
You're about to interview a couple this week, aren't you?
yes, so there are two interviews set up for Thursday. But then there's more applicants that we still have to set up interviews for.
So they might be a possible summer.
Exactly. So you
I
still
just
have
don't
both.
see how we could, I don't know how you can pull it together, you know, you gotta get the teachers to recommend kids to attend, and then you gotta get a hold of the parents and.
So
Would
there's
you
no
like to
hope.
volunteer to coordinate it? Huh?
I'll coordinate it.
Oh dear, he said yes.
Well, then you also have to go through the food services, make sure there's snacks and
Yep.
food here for the kids, and it's getting kind of late in the year for that.
Yeah, so the original summer school had Naomi, so she would have foods, I don't know, was it breakfast and then a snack? Or just snacks, I'm not sure. The
Snack
bus
and
driver, of
lunch.
course, Barbie and
I don't know.
and
I
Tim
don't
to clean the
look at that.
bathrooms and.
Snack, when they get it, they got a snack, and then they
Well,
have the.
yeah, basically, we already spent the ESSER funds.
How many kids are there?
We don't have any clue.
Not at this point.
Well, that's where I get a teacher first and then start to, with how many kids.
So the teachers were going to recommend children who could really benefit from a summer school focused on math and reading was the original goal. And so now I'm suggesting let's not just plan for a summer school, let's plan very specific workshops in our summer school that are gonna
Right.
focus on reading and focus on math and start putting it together well in advance, so we've got all our ducks in a row.
Okay.
And you can plan it for next year. You be the board member in charge.
Be in charge. Or be MIC.
So in that case, I'm gonna request a special meeting for this.
All right. So does we get a principal?
Okay,
2023-24 budget updates. I don't think I have anything there. I did get an awesome report from Kristen that really shows everything. I just want to pass it around so you see what it looks like. I'm gonna try to get this for all of our future budget things. It's sort of like the one we get in a list, but the one we get in a list, this has so much more information that helps us look at it. And so for our next regular meeting for our budget update, I'm gonna ask for this report. And we can pass it around so everybody sees what it looks like. So we need the next one, item, of course, as you noticed, my numbering in the Word program screwed up, or B, one or the other. And so
That was interesting.
I don't know how it happened.
Oh,
The next interim contract for a minute taker Zoom operation owl manager.
Anita, you were gonna talk about the Suburban.
Oh my gosh, we've got to get the repair on our van repaired. And so, Barbie has some numbers for us.
I didn't print off the second quote that I had gotten, but I emailed the board members the two quotes. And the first quote was from GM for a new motor from Suburban, and it was $13,118.55. And then that would be also a 3-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
That's installed?
Huh?
Was that installed?
That's installed, taking out the old, putting in the new and having it running for us. And then, there was some other fees that might come up depending on what they get into, hoses and stuff. Some of that wasn't included. So the dealership, got us to. It's on my phone, hang on a second. Never find anything when you're looking. For Jasper. A motor, it's from Indiana. And that motor, they give me a quote of $12,400 for it. And that includes, it also comes with a package that will include a new hoses, new wires, plugs, wires, water pump hoses and belts, which the GM doesn't. So if we go through the GM motor, it's gonna be the same motor that is for that vehicle, which maybe in our lifetime of having the Suburban, it wouldn't happen again, but it's where it's an 8-cylinder and 4 of the cylinders shut off. And that's what all the lawsuits are about. The injectors, or not injectors, the lifters are breaking and destroying the cam and all the metals going through the motor. So that's what's happening. But in our case, the lifter didn't quite break the way it's broke on the other ones that are going through the lawsuit. So the manager at the dealership got a hold of GM, and they would give us $500 towards the new motor, but then the dealership couldn't give us the discount on the parts that they were giving us. So actually, it would come out more with the 500 going through GM.
Well, that's not very fair.
Yeah, so if we went to Jasper, I kept talking to this guy today, the manager up there. And he said if we went through Jasper, he would be able to get it for us for 11,800 instead of the 12,400. So he came down a little bit. And that's still with all the free, well, it's not free, but it's the package that comes with the plugs, wire, water pump and hoses and belts.
And those are both remanufactured, or
Yes. And
that comes with a 3-year?
3-year, 100,000 miles. So
100,000.
100,000.
100,000 miles.
That's a lot of miles.
Yeah.
It is, but
We don't put that much on in 3 years.
no, our warranty would be out in 3 years.
So basically a 3-year warranty. So basically, we would put in $11,000 to $13,000. We'll have a $23,000 to $27,000 vehicle on the used market roughly.
Yeah, And I don't know what the Kelly Blue Book is, but we paid, I believe, like $12,000 for the Suburban when we got it a couple of years ago.
Prices gone up.
We got a really good deal on it, everybody that. Like,
Great deal.
But, so now we're doubling the price of what we paid for the Suburban. This guy also said, the motor through Jasper is about a week out. And then he said he'd need at least a week to put the motor in and then he'd get it back to us. And he said, we don't like to rush, so I told him that putting it back in take longer than a week because we don't need it right away, just so they don't rush and miss something. So
Where's that at? Where's Jasper's?
Indiana,
Indiana.
so,
How are
The
they gonna put
warranty-
that in-
what's that?
How are they gonna put that in here?
They're one of,
They're gonna
they're one of
ship
the
it to-
large, like motor, remanufacturing, so like you can buy their engines, so you're not sending the Suburban to Jasper?
No, they're sending the engine to
Right.
the dealership and the dealership will put it in. And then the warranty for that one will be through Jasper. And then if we go to Chevrolet, then the warranty will be through Chevrolet. But if we go through Chevrolet, we're just buying the same thing. Could happen again. The lifters could break and destroy the motor, but
If we get the same 8 years out of the Suburban, we're
yeah.
not gonna be running around in a 2016 Suburban in
Yeah.
8 years from now.
Cause I have the same issue or kid with my
Yeah, you're right.
Yukon. It's 4 years old and almost 90,000 miles on it, and so. Ours could do the same thing as what the school Suburban does, so,
So one of the things that Barbie explained to me is we can't go to John Doe next door to do this for us because this has to be done by someone authorized to do school vehicles or something, so we have to
Yeah.
go to the dealer. So then I talked to Kristen, she said that if we spend this money, we will overrun our repair bill, our repair category, but she said there's enough room in the bottom line to cover it, so we're not gonna impact the bottom line.
Well, it sounds like we need to get it done anyway.
We need to.
Yeah, but if we don't do it now, you're gonna.
So the question you're asking is, do we put in the factory engine, or do we spend 2,000 less on, what is it?
said Jasper.
And
My,
Ja- and
my
Jasper's-
opinion is go Jasper because it's already, they deleted. The motor's already been deleted with the 4 cylinders shutting off. And then they'll send a kit, Doug probably knows more about it, that will hook
Bump
up,
up our fuel costs, but
the dealership will hook up to the
Not really.
computer on the
much.
Not by what.
Suburban.
where we're
And
at.
it will delete that program out of the Suburban, so it won't mess up again, or shouldn't.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about.
I think we have to do it, it's a no brainer. And then,
Well, we're gonna do it.
might as well go with the Jasper, cause we got time.
So Sarah, are you ready for a motion, Eric? You're typing over there.
Do we need a motion?
Well, I guess, well, the category will be overrun, but the bottom line won't be. So I think if we all agree, everybody agree, we're gonna go ahead and get this done.
Yeah.
Bus, or,
Yeah.
I mean, this is stuff that would just happen as part of the school year. We had
Yes,
a
and we-
superintendent, so now we're functioning as superintendent, so I don't know.
yeah,
if we
we
said
are,
we're supposed
we're
to-
the superintendent.
I don't know if we're supposed to be like, when we're making those decisions, if we should have motions or if
We
they're all in
probably
agreement.
don't.
we'll just-
Probably don't need, let's, so
Barbie's being, she's
the
standing.
minutes will show that the
Right.
board supports getting that repair done right away.
With
Jasper. Jasper engine.
The Jasper motor, tank motor.
Okay, now we're done with the 23-24 budget. And we're on to do we want to do an interim contract for a minute taker? Somebody who will be here to get it set up, get it running, handle the Zoom and take written minutes, so we have a little bit of redundancy.
I think we want it.
Yeah, I'd say that'd be nice.
Okay, so the standard thing that we would do is offer to see if there's anybody, current employee who would like to do that. If there is
Yeah.
not, then we would, contract out for someone to come to do that. Just, that's all their job would be, but just coming to the
Yeah.
meeting and do that.
Yeah.
And we could make it some kind of offer, like, $100 per meeting or something.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable? Okay, we'll do that.
A lot of meetings.
I would.
Well, it sounds like we've got some.
I would suggest $100 per meeting for our regular meetings.
Yeah.
If we're doing a weekly 10-minute meeting, that's not a $100 meeting.
So far, we haven't been doing 10-minute meetings, though.
I know, but I'm hopeful.
Since we're super-
Yeah.
you never know.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I just like, let's at least have 2 classes of meetings.
2 classes of meeting. Well, I mean, we could have an hourly rate too,
Sure.
Oh,
6-hour meetings. I don't know.
Yeah, 6 hours.
I don't think there are any 24, 25 budget updates we haven't already talked about. Does anybody, I think Kristen's got it all in good shape. She's gonna be ready for the public hearing. She will be here to participate by Zoom for the public hearing, and so that's great.
Next meeting, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, it is in,
2 weeks.
it's the, of course, I know it off the top of my head. It's July 15th.
15, yeah.
So the ad for the principal, we already did that when we were talking to Vicky. I completed the exit interview and now we're on to public comment.
Hold on,
Uh-oh.
did we do this, someone taking the Zoom operator? and-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they
We
told me
did
to go ahead and do that.
So also on that note, since from public comment, I was looking at a way to try to help alleviate some of that weight from Lisa, because right now she's just buried in these meetings. And I was kind of just doing some research on that. There are a couple different plugins inside Zoom that you can get that will transcribe the meeting using AI. So there's one that is, try a demo, and I didn't go down that road, but we might look at if there's a way to at least help minimize or at least get at least part of it transcribed already into text. Speech to text has come a long way. And it might be easier for whoever takes the job to be able to go through and edit the text and have to actually listen to what's being said and type it all out. It's a lot easier to listen to something and then move, comma, put a return in there. Oh, that was Anita. Oh, no, that was Keith, or whatever, as opposed to listening to the whole thing and writing the whole thing out as it's happening. So it would be worth probably looking at how far is the AI components come, and is that worth throwing something at that. This one that I found was free, but but of course, there's a big sales thing, like go to sales here, wait, it's free. But so it'd be interesting to at least look at that as an option.
So that's
for
part
the
of
board.
Zoom.
Correct, it was a plugin that went inside Zoom, yes, exactly, but it was an AI,
Ones.
yeah, there are other ones out there. This one was specifically designed for board meetings. It was for minutes of meetings. So-
Yeah, I think if we have a transcript, we can have that at the end, but we were talking as a board, when everything was going on, we kind of like regrouped. And we decide what we want in our meetings, because I think what we're putting on Lisa is way too much.
Right, right.
That's not what we need. That's not,
No.
we need to know our action items. We need to know public comment was received. She's trying to summarize what public comment is.
Right.
I don't want that. I don't, because if I summarize what you say, you may not agree with my summary, and why? Just, we receive public comment on this topic.
I think the board still have some work to do on the best way to handle minutes. If we get our redundancy first and then I think the AI option,
It might be worth looking into,
you
I'm just
know,
throwing that
I
out
don't think
there.
that's what we want for our final minutes, but
Right.
the AI option would help the person that was doing the.
If at a big level, we kind of like can take that too to timestamps in the YouTube video that if we have it posted to YouTube. Then people can say, oh, public comments received on this, and they can click to that part of the meeting and watch what's being said rather than reading.
And that could be part of the thing too, because it sounds like it was a totally integrated
Right.
solution into Zoom that does that. So, but it might be worth looking at that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to try and dive in and find some information about that. Again, I don't expect that to be the end all. I would expect someone's still gonna have to deal with what the AI provides, and they're gonna have to clean it up and go back through it. But it might be easier and take less time if it's at least generally put down first, and you're not having to transcribe a 4-hour meeting or a 3-hour meeting first, and then go back and edit it. That's all I was kind of throwing out
Yeah.
there. So it might be worth looking at.
Okay, I think it's worth looking at,
Yeah.
even though I don't like AI.
Yeah, but
Yeah, John.
this is.
Yeah, I would just, to add on that, a couple points, one on the, just because I think about the technicalities of, I don't know if that would be a contract position you're end up hiring or an employee type relationship. There could be issues there, and then if it was an employee, I guess I would just have some concern, like, are we then sort of in effect permanently committed to that position? Like, is this what we always want, right? So I would hesitate on.
Well, it would be the, you could write any kind of terms you wanted,
I think we would need to work with the union, appropriate union, if it's a union position, if a union staff is coming into this contract. Because ultimately, we can't take away the authority of the secretary to get this done at his appointment and who they appoint and where that comes. We need this function done, but we don't want that particular function to all of a sudden become a certified or classified permanent position. And I think if the union is willing to work with us on that, then we can come up with an
Right,
appropriate.
and I would also second, I think what you said, Eric, about the minutes, like, I mean, I don't think the minutes have to be a exhaustive record of everything, just to the very point that Eric raised, is like, that's a difficult thing to do, because in effect, you're interpreting what somebody said.
Right.
And so really, the minutes are a record of the actions of the board. They don't have to be, a 10-page, novel of everything that happened at the meeting, so.
And now that we're recording the meetings, I think that is a very viable way of doing it. Because in the past, when you weren't recording meetings, there was a lot of kinds of things that were missed because they weren't in the minutes. But now that we have a recording of each meeting, whether it's audio or audio visual, either one, that people can go back and find what
Yeah,
they're
and
looking for if it's to
and
get
if-
more detail.
If we put it hand in hand
Yeah,
with the timestamps and the postings, then that just, okay, I wanna see the public comments.
yeah, right.
Board received public comments at
And that's
34 minutes
something
and
this,
17
this,
sections.
add-on to Zoom would do, you said, Doug?
I'm not sure about the time stepping back to the video, but it's taking the Zoom video itself, so it would have to have some correlation to what happened in the video, because it's taking the transcription from the video from Zoom. So yeah, I would assume there's gonna be some sort of timestamp equalization.
I know if you put those in, and if you have like 15 items, then what you do is as you post it, is you just like fast forward, okay, there's where that piece started. And you put it in, you don't have to listen to all of it, all right, you find there's where this piece started, and you put in the timestamp, and it takes, 20 minutes to put those in for a video.
Okay.
And John was
And then
saying,
you have somebody.
John was saying something
like
about,
he just did, he went back 3 steps because we skipped it, and so it's all over the place.
John was saying
I
something
still
about
like
making it
somebody taking minutes.
No, I
not a
agree.
position, but we talked about maybe having a contracted out, and I think that there might be an issue with confidentiality. Is that one of the issues, John? If we said, "Oh, let's farm that out to somebody to do that on a contract basis, if they're not an employee, do you foresee issues with stuff happening?
That shouldn't be an issue because it's an open
Right,
meeting.
it's a public
And when we go into an executive meeting, none of those, no minutes or anything are taken in
Anyway,
executive.
okay.
Yeah,
So I can throw just employee versus contractor
Yeah.
and sort of payroll rules around that.
A contract is,
Okay.
very, very, you gotta be super, super careful because a contract is a contract employee versus a district employee
Right.
or a contract with someone who has their own business.
Yeah, if somebody has their own business,
Yeah.
and they're like, hey, I have a transcription business, but I can come do your minutes for you this is my rate, then that's easy, right? They handle their own payment and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
We don't, like, 1099 issues have started
Right,
getting
yeah.
way more complicated.
So I think Jennifer had some comments here.
No, I just wanted, because didn't somebody say that recordings are only there for a year?
Yeah, it's a, I'm not sure if it's federal or if it's a state law. The law says that a recording and a transcript only has to be maintained and kept on file for 1 year. Whereas an actual recording that somebody takes
Right.
is, there's no time limit. So they're just kept forever.
But we don't We can have our own policy on how long we
Right,
retain them.
we
We
could-
can keep them on YouTube forever if we want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it depends on what the district is using as their official minutes. So if the recording is an accessory to the official minutes, then you don't have to keep it more than a year, but if that's the recording is, so. Kind of depends on how they're classified.
Yeah, well, it just, if you don't have detailed minutes, which I understand putting too much in, but then the recording goes away, then you still don't really know
No.
what went on.
Yeah, that's
I would-
true.
I would-
That's very true.
I would think if we're going through the process of creating the recording, and we're gonna use a public service like YouTube, like a lot of government bodies have gone to, I don't see a reason to get rid of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, let's retain our records.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, Joanne.
I just have a question about iReady.
And maybe I can.
I was wondering, can you tell us like a little bit about it, like just like how you came to what was appealing about it or what
Well, I went to the ed reports and looked at what the ratings were, and that's how, yeah. Because we need something that has good ratings to help us out.
So I guess that brings up a question. So Jillian is a tutor. When they do that training, is there a limit to how many people can be there? Can we bring our tutors in?
I don't see why not. I'd have to ask, but I don't see why not.
Keep that in mind, remind us of that.
right before school starts?
Yeah.
Or when you guys are,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, any other public comment? Yeah.
I do, so you guys were talking about how early you would need somebody here in the mornings to greet the kids. The bus arrives here in the past at 7:25. But there's several kids that aren't coming back this year. And, so it could be as early as 7:20 that the bus gets here. So,
Because we have some parents that drop the kids off before the bus arrives. Is that what you said?
no, some kids are not coming back.
They're not
So
riding the
bus is
bus.
gonna be shorter.
The-
Oh,
Bus
okay.
ride's gonna be shorter.
So there's
Okay.
at least one stop that won't be on my bus, but if we get new students, maybe that'll pick back up. But, so definitely by 7:25, you would need somebody here.
I think some kids have been dropped off earlier too.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Because they have. to
Because I
catch-
thought you
siblings have
had
to catch
mentioned
the
that,
rides in.
right, yeah.
yeah,
Right by.
so they do
Yeah,
get
I
here
think
earlier.
that, in talking to staff, it was at least having somebody here by 7:15.
I think that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have shorter routes, so would you just start a little later?
Yeah.
Naomi, is that now? Is that a hand
Yeah.
for Naomi?
I could start a couple minutes later, but then,
Oh,
I just gotta make sure I get back down to Home Valley to pick up the CIA students and get them back here by 8:15, so they get their hours in, so it's kind of a catch-22 on that, so. And then, also, you said there's gonna be background checks. I've been doing the background checks for, different hires and, volunteers and stuff. Will I be sending in the background check for?
so for
the
teachers, they do the full background FBI, what stuff,
Okay,
and they go to ESD, and ESD then sends that in to somebody or other.
okay, I
that
just wanted
does
to
that.
make sure, so if I had to be around.
Yeah, so for the teachers, it's different, right? And
Okay,
I have no clue, but I assume, I don't know, the principal might be that way too. Actually, that's something I don't know. What kind of background
Yeah.
check do we do with a principal?
I just want to let you know, my availability is gonna be iffy because my new granddaughter is gonna be due, well, she's due Saturday, but, they said anytime,
Congratulations.
So,
Yeah.
and then, so this has nothing to do with anybody talking about anything today. There's a blue piano in the bus barn. Can we get rid of it?
Does it work?
Probably not anymore. But,
He wants a red one.
So the district can surplus equipment.
okay, it was in the school and there was no room for it, so they put it in the fire hall. The fire hall said, no, get it out. So it came to the bus barn.
Is that the one that was originally in the church?
It's a blue one, I think
It's
they,
the blue one that's been here forever.
Yeah.
it was donated by I think from the Grange. Wasn't there the Grange,
That could be, we had,
That was long.
that's really old if it's
I don't,
donated from one of the
I'm still
regions.
thinking it was originally from, yeah.
Anyway, I would
Anyway,
like to see
we
different
can
things.
access it, and then when we access it, we can do anything with it we want.
Okay, but it's taking up room, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. I don't have room in there.
Is it a big one?
Yeah, it's pretty
Is
all
there-
right.
They're heavy.
Yeah. I think it came from the school, it was the school piano from the.
The old school.
The old school. Yeah.
Wow.
Tim moved it with the forklift, sort of, so, it is pretty heavy.
You know, people just lay stuff out on the sidewalk and put a free sign on it.
I don't think we can do that without surplus. Maybe. we
Yeah,
can.
Yeah, we have to
Find out
definitely
if
have
we
to
could-
formally surplus it, so.
Yes.
If we-
So you bug me to make sure I can do that.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
anything
now
else?
we have
before we
Naomi.
adjourn?
Naomi.
I have something.
All
Oh,
right.
Naomi does, yeah. No.
Naomi, go ahead.
Hi again. I just wanted to clarify, there's not going to be any kind of summer program at all, correct? No
I
workshop,
just-
anything like
we
that?
can put it Together. We just can't pull it together. Boy, we're gonna do a lot next year.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure because I'm required by child nutrition to provide meals if we provide any kind of educational program during the summer. So even if we did workshops or something like that, we'd still be required to provide at least one meal. So just checking. Thank
That's
you.
good to know. Thank you. I appreciate you telling me that, us that. Okay, anything else?
Katie.
Katie? Hi.
Hi, I was kind of stuck back here, but I can see everybody. I just wanted to ask, if, because there's about a third of the students that are really having a hard time with reading. And is there any chance to have like an after-school workshop for them during the school year or something to help out? Because it doesn't get any better for them. It just gets harder and harder. And about a fifth of those students are actually dyslexic, and it's a spectrum disorder from mild to severe. And then because it's spectrum, it's really hard to point them out. And I have, if any of the teachers would like one, it's the warning signs for dyslexia, and you give it to the parents, and then they can see because it's a genetic thing. So, just so you can kind of try to sift out who is who.
Well, I think that we're learning more and more as a district about the value of dyslexia. And I know that you've been working with a couple of students where you've seen enormous
Right.
success just in a short period
Right.
of time. So what the district probably would want, if you wanted to have a special workshop for dyslexic students available to students next year, can you give us a cost estimate? Say if you
Well,
had a
that
work-
it wouldn't work. It's gotta be one-on-one. See, that's the hard part about it because they're all different. You can't teach them in a group.
Oh, so you wanted to do one-on-one training at the school after school?
No, well, I would just like to make an awareness for parents, because I'm not the
Oh,
only,
okay.
I'm not the only tutor, available. But if parents knew why their child was struggling so badly, they could do something about it rather than let them fall through the cracks year after year. And then they've got all this emotional baggage, and it's really hard because they've missed so much, and they're very, very smart people.
So what would this look like? I mean, would you like to come in and meet with teachers?
I could even just give them a sheet of paper now, or I would be glad to talk with them too. I really would, because it's really, it's very interesting. And you just need to be able to kind of get an idea of who they might be, but would be involving the parents also.
Well, do you have a little brochure or sheet?
I
that
have
you
something
pass out?
right here now.
Yeah, you can give that to me after the meeting.
There's, I take some of the grade school home first, and then come back to the school and get the high schoolers. So there is from like 2:30 to 3:10. If somebody could work through kids that way, and then they could still catch the bus and go home. And I know they did that for homework last year, and it worked out good for the kids. They had that, instead of riding the bus,
Okay.
they stayed here at school and did their homework or got help.
That's really cool. I knew that we had some after-school stuff, but I didn't know that that's how it worked, and they could still catch a bus home.
Yeah, they went into a classroom when school got out and then they got the bus before I left to go to school. So it was a. Parents didn't have to make sure they got up here to get the kids and stuff.
That also makes sense too, especially if a lot of people here don't have fast internet. So to be able to do some of the work, it'd be really nice to be able to stay in school and do that work and be focused and not have to deal with what's going on at home and not be able to get their homework done. So that's nice that there's that window there.
I'm good. I don't have to, it's like.
All righty, anything else before we adjourn? Our next meeting won't
Not
be
that I
until
know.
the 15th of July. Robbie,
You should know about it, though, you should take one.
I don't teach.
I know,
I
but
go home
you're,
and chop firewood.
you're on the board, and, for, just parents, you just don't ever know who you're gonna speak with.
Yeah. I don't speak to anybody.
I just
I
want to
live a
test,
very
I
quiet
worked for the student last year and, it was very challenging because I felt like she was very underserved by special ed. And I was able to develop a relationship with the family, and Katie has been tutoring with the student and family, and I got to go and observe this morning. And it was so precious because when I went in, the student was just all smiles and she was so proud of herself and the progress that she's made. I see the student regularly anyway at the farm, but it was just such a beautiful thing. And it was worth all of the heck I went through last year to get this connection made. And now we will be taking our granddaughter who's with us for the summer from Montana to start tutoring with Katie next Monday morning. So I just highly recommend getting this information out to staff and to parents, because I think this student has been underserved her whole school career. And just now is getting some help that's really beneficial for her. Anyway.
that's awesome. That's a wonderful story. Wonderful story. Okay, anyone else? All right, we are adjourned. We'll see everyone on the 15th of July.
It's like.